Good evening, everyone. I'd like to welcome you to the Satellite Beach City Council. This is a special meeting of the City Council. The date is November 28th, 2012. The time is 5:45 p.m. And I will turn it over to Mr. Beadle to read resolution number 923, please.
Resolution number 923, a resolution of the City of Satellite Beach, Brevard County, Florida, accepting and approving the results of the November 6, 2012 city election.
Thank you. Any comments from the council? Any comments from the public? I'd like to bring it back for a motion and a second, please.
I move to accept and approve resolution 923.
I'll second the motion.
I have a motion by Councilman Billman, second by Vice Mayor Rhodes. Lenore?
Councilmember Gannon?
Yes.
Councilmember French?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Rhodes?
Yes.
Councilmember Billman?
Yes.
Mayor Ferrante?
Yes, and resolution number 923 passes unanimously. We will be back to start the regular meeting at 6 p.m. And okay, this is it. Swan song. Here we go. I'd like to call this regular meeting of the City Council of Satellite Beach to order. The date is November 28th, 2012. The time is 6 p.m. I'd like you to join me in a moment of silence for this transition night, please. Thank you. And now the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. That sounds good. Thank you. Under old business, we have 2 second readings. So the first is agenda item number 3, ordinance number 1065. Mr. Beadle.
Ordinance number 1065, an ordinance of the City of Satellite Beach, Brevard County, Florida, amending the FY 2011-2012 budget ordinance number 1045. Said ordinance was previously amended by ordinance number 1053, providing an effective date. It's the second reading of ordinance number 1065.
Thank you. Ann?
Yes, this ordinance is divided into 6 different sections. Section 1 for the fiscal year 2011-2012 is the general fund budget adopted by ordinance 1045, and it is hereby amended to increase the general fund budget to $9,253,593, and that is actually an increase in this fourth quarter amendment of $393,054.
Did you want to cover the other sections?
I would be happy to. Section 2 is for fiscal year 2011-2012 as well. Community Services Special Revenue Fund budget. This is amended here for the fourth quarter to increase the Community Services Special Revenue Fund budget to a total of $181,309. And this fourth quarter amendment is an increase of $10,650. Section 3 is again for fiscal year 2011-2012, Stormwater Utility Fund budget, amended to decrease the Stormwater Utility Fund budget to $1,910,170, and this particular fourth quarter amendment is a reduction of $83,721. Section 4, same fiscal year, 11-12, amended to increase the Law Enforcement Trust Fund budget to $5,850. This is a fourth quarter increase of $5,350. Section 5 is the 2011-2012 Community Redevelopment Agency Fund, amended to increase that fund to $948,228 with an increase in this fourth quarter of $30,802. And Section 6, fiscal year 2011-2012, again, the Capital Assets Fund budget is amended to increase to $500,464. Fourth quarter increase is $126,968.
Thank you. Let me bring it back to the council for discussion and a motion.
I think it's interesting that our general fund budget increase was very close to the amount of money that we required to borrow from the CRA fund to pay bills.
Mr. Adam?
I know.
Alan? Thank you. Any other council comments? Sure.
I'd like to make a motion to adopt ordinance number 1065. Second reading.
Second the motion.
I have a motion by Councilman Billman, second by Vice Mayor Rhodes. Is there any public discussion? Lenore?
Councilmember Dean.
Yes.
Councilmember French.
Yes.
Vice Mayor Rhodes.
Yes.
Councilmember Billman.
Yes.
Mayor Fontaine.
Yes, and the ordinance passes unanimously. Thank you, council. Agenda item number 4, public hearing, ordinance number 1059. Mr. Beadle.
Ordinance number 1059, an ordinance of the City of Satellite Beach, Brevard County, Florida, amending the comprehensive plan based on updated data analysis, including amendments to the text of the future land use element of the 1998 comprehensive plan as amended regarding compatibility of development with military installations, to revise and update the existing goals, objectives, and policies in accordance with the mandates set forth in Chapter 163 Florida statutes, authorizing transmittal of these amendments to the East Central Florida Regional Planning Council, State Land Planning Agency, and other applicable agencies for review and comment as required by Florida statutes, providing a conflicts clause and severability clause, and providing an effective date. It's the second reading of ordinance number 1059.
Thank you, Mr. Beadle. Ms. Samuelson?
Yes, and Jim LaRue from LaRue Planning and Management Services is here to present and discuss the ordinance. Mr. LaRue.
Thank you very much, Mayor and members of the council. I appreciate being able to speak before you tonight. I'll be very brief. You overwhelm me with all the items you have. So as you remember, several months ago, we were required to come before you with the transmittal of actually an objective and several policies that made sure that the state knew that we are cooperating with military base land use compatibility. We've done so in a way that you've seen Objective 1.7, and it has different policies within that without reading all those that calls for us to coordinate. It's been my pleasure on this particular amendment. I've not had, knock on wood, as easy a time. The only slight changes that you have are some verbiage that we showed you in the backup, where in policy 1.72 it makes the city having the responsibility to coordinate, and those are the only changes we've had. Having done this a few times, I made sure that we had sign-offs from the military base planning people, the now DEO instead of DCA, and I feel that without further ado, these are what policies that you had before, and we've just tinkered with the words a little bit to make sure that they're appropriate, because now when somebody comments, and somebody from DOT did, it was a pertinent comment, you want to make sure that you make some adjustments based on that if they're reasonable, and they are, and so that's what's there. Rather than belabor this, is pretty easy, so I think it meets with what we had before. It will make us consistent with state law. We won't have any problems in terms of not doing what we should have been doing. So,
Okay.
thank you.
Thank you. Let me bring it back to the council for discussion. Okay, can I have a motion, please?
Make a motion to approve ordinance 1059, second reading.
And it is consistent with the comprehensive plan.
Right.
Thank you.
I'll second the motion.
I have a motion by Councilman Billman, second by Vice Mayor Rhodes. Is there any discussion on ordinance number 1059? Lenore?
Councilmember Dean.
Yes.
Councilmember French.
Yes.
Vice Mayor Rhodes?
Yes.
Councilmember Billman?
Yes.
Mayor Fontaine?
Yes, and the ordinance passes unanimously on the second reading. Jim, thank you. Have a safe trip back to Fort Myers. And thank you for everything.
Thank you, Mayor.
Good work. Thank you.
Thank you.
The two agenda items, second readings that we did have been completed. Agenda item number 5 are comments by outgoing council members. And I'll start with Lloyd.
I guess first I'd like to thank all the city employees, especially the admin staff here. For their professionalism, I think it captured in a word. It is clear to me through all my involvement, both on panels and as a city councilman, that they are working tremendously hard, tremendously professionally, and deserve recognition for all the support that they provided to me personally, but also to the entire council. I certainly want to thank the council for the opportunities to serve, and thank the citizens, especially the ones who attend meetings, for their civic involvement. It's important. I'd like to thank the Citizens Advisory Panel for Efficient Government. The reason I highlight them is because if it weren't for our teaming and the things that we accomplished this past year, we wouldn't have had the success we did in solving some of the financial challenges that we ran into this budget year. And certainly my involvement on that panel was in no small part responsible for my appointment here because of my knowledge about the city budgeting process and helping the city through its budgeting year. So again, to all the KPEG members, thank you for that tremendous effort. But I don't want to just thank the KPEG. I want to thank all the volunteers of the city. The city's foundation is based on volunteerism. And not only volunteers for our boards, but volunteers for all of the other activities in this city. Thousands and thousands of hours of volunteerism. I just thank you for your very generous and precious gift of time. I want to thank the 2,397 people who gave me their vote of confidence this year. It's an honor that I will never forget. So thank you for that. Now, I also want you to know that I now know what it's like on both sides of the fence. But I would say that there is evidence of a pretty big dog on both sides. So I'll just leave that at that. Because it doesn't really matter which side of the fence you're on, someone's going to bark at you. To the newly composed council, I just would say congratulations and remember the golden rule. But to one and all, it's truly been an honor to be here, and I wish only the best for Satellite Beach and its citizens. Thank you.
Thank you. Vice Mayor Rhodes.
I don't have a prepared speech. Wow. I moved to the city about 10 years ago and decided with my young family to get involved. And I joined the CRA advisory panel for a couple of years, helped with that, and then got motivated and ran for city council in 2009. And Joe and I and Councilman Higginson were elected, and we tried to make some good things happen for the city, which I think we worked hard at, and it's a very big job to do. I take it very serious. I try to do the best that I can. I ask a lot of questions, and a lot of people don't agree with me, but a lot of people do agree with me, and I in my heart, I know that at the end of the day, I've tried to do what's best for our city, and I feel that I've done that. I appreciate the staff. All the department heads have always been polite and respectful. All the city employees across the board. There's been no bad experiences with any of the city employees. We got to have a great city. All the involvement here we have now. That was I think after the last election, a lot of people got involved, and hopefully everyone will stay involved with the process, come up and bring suggestions and ideas to the council. I remember a couple years ago, I spoke with one of the former mayors that are here tonight, and they said that it was rewarding being on the council, but his biggest regret was the time away from his family. So I'm not walking away from the city, but I'm at the prime of my life with my children. I'm going to spend a lot of time on the ball field, at the beach, at music recitals, and enjoying my family while I can. And maybe in a couple of years, if they grow up and move away, then I can become more involved with the city again. And I appreciate everyone who has supported me. Thank you.
Scott, they grow up, but they don't move away. They are always there. Well, I should stop there. That's it. But I just want a lot of thanks tonight. Thank you all very much for coming tonight, and a great 3 years as mayor. Before I was elected, I saw Rich Workman in Publix, and I knew some people in Publix, and he says, boy, he says, one of the jobs that he'd like to do is mayor. He says, that's where all politics is local. And I said, thanks, Rich. I didn't know him that well at the time. I know him a little better now. But my sincerest thanks to each of you for allowing me to do this job. I want to thank my mom and dad who are watching on YouTube, Councilwoman Karen Miller from Hypoluxo, Florida, who has my girlfriend who's been with me. November 5th was our first date when I took over, and now it's great. We got a lot of things planned. But she's been on the council in Hypoluxo for 20 years, which is really good. And my children are here tonight, Liz, AJ, my grandson, Liz, Tricia, Matt, Brian, and my son Joe is here in spirit, who have been with me. The city staff, today I had a little luncheon for the city staff just to let them know that they are terrific. And they are just really, really good. I trust them. They kept me going in the right direction. And they're just a great bunch of people, each and every one of you. So thank you. And Jim, I include you too. So thank you very much. My fellow council members, it was a good year. We did a lot of things. I think we did good things. And I see Jeff in the audience. Jeff, thanks for those good years. And Suzanne, we talked about Bill, Miss Bill, but it's good. But thank you, each and every one of you, for that. For the new council, Frank, I got a couple of things for you. First, the police chief has told me I have to give back my badge. Sorry. And I don't understand it. But Frank, where are you? Oh, sure. No, he's staying. He's staying. Somebody told me I needed to buy this book at one time, Frank, so I'm going to give you this book. It's Robert's Rules for Dummies, because you're going to need it. And I also want to give you, I have no idea what this is. The gavel, I have never hit it. I have never used it. Some people said I've never, but I got it there, Frank. So that's for you. But I wish the new council tremendous success and to keep everything going that we've tried to do. It might have come out a little rough around the edges or stuff, but we talked about it. Interesting and exciting is what I heard today. My goal was always to do what's best for each and every citizen of Satellite Beach. I hope I achieved that, and I wish the new council a great future, and may God bless each one of you and the city of Satellite Beach. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Thank you. I guess there's going to be a couple of minutes. You should not do that. I am very humble. So, Ian, I'm going to turn
Yes, we have a presentation. So, Mayor, Vice Mayor, and Councilmember French, would you please come forward off the dais? Vice Mayor Rhodes and Councilmember French, in appreciation for your service to the city of Satellite Beach and some of the sacrifices that you have made being away from family and all the volunteer hours that you have committed. We would like to give you these terrific photos of council, and if you could hold them up so everyone can see. The council with whom you've served, as well as the city attorney, the city clerk, and the interim city manager. And Mayor Ferrante, also in sincere appreciation for your many years of service. Something a little different, if you could show the audience. This is a photo of City Hall, and the staff has signed this. So all the staff.
And what makes this sort of, these are Scotty's flags out here. And that's just great. Scotty, we're thinking of you tonight. So
Thank you.
thank you all very much. And
I just want to thank my spouse. He's put up with so much over the time frame. I just wanted to make it a special announcement versus from up there. So, Michelle, thank you. I love you very much.
Now we're going to adopt the minutes. I guess we jumped the gun.
you know what, I've been trying to get out of here. We have to approve some minutes.
Yes, we do.
Okay, sorry. Adoption of minutes, November 14th, 2012. Okay. Can I have a motion in a second?
I'll make a motion to adopt the minutes of the November 14th, 2012 regular meeting.
Second that. Okay, a motion by Vice Mayor Rhodes, second by Councilman Billman. Lenore.
Councilwoman Dean?
Yes.
Councilmember French?
Yes.
Vice Mayor, excuse me, Councilmember Bowman?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Rhodes?
Yes.
Mayor Fontaine?
Yes, and the motion passes unanimously. Thank you. Agenda item number 7 is the transition. We're going to do this in alphabetical order for the council people. Mark Brimer will be sworn in by Pat Utek, and then Lorraine Gott will be sworn in by myself, and Frank Catino will then be sworn in as mayor by David Schechter. And then they'll come up here. So let's do the swearing ins. And Pat, we can go down.
I think every person that has ever been elected to the council has mixed feelings. Glad you're there, glad you're and every one of them has been a surprise. I think the largest surprise in my life was when my wife did. That was a surprise. Didn't expect that at all. But then being elected mayor was a great, great honor and surprise. So Mark, I have 2 cheat sheets. One for you. Oh, you got one already. You got your name on it? I think so. So, if you raise your right hand, please. I, Mark Brimer.
I, Mark Brown,
Do solemnly swear that I will support and uphold the Constitution of the United States,
do solemnly swear that I will support and uphold the Constitution of the United States,
as well as the state of Florida, and as well as Satellite Beach City Charter,
as well as the state of Florida and as well as the city of Satellite Beach Charter,
city code, and city ordinances.
city code and city ordinances,
And that I will well and faithfully discharge the duty of the office of Satellite Beach City Council member to which I have been elected.
and that I will well and faithfully discharge the duties of the office of Satellite Beach City Council member to which I have been elected.
For a while, I held the position of being probably the only one that had been on the council, got off the council for a term, and then was reelected. Tonight, that's changed. I've lost the title, and you have taken it over in spades. Thank you, Mark.
If we could have a round of applause for this man, he's been a tremendous leader in our city. Just thank you for the
Please repeat after me. I state your name.
I, Lorraine Dodd,
Do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will support and uphold
that I will support and uphold
the constitutions of the United States and the state of Florida,
the constitutions of the United States and the state of Florida,
and the city charter, city codes, and ordinances of Satellite Beach,
and the city codes, city charter, and ordinances of Satellite Beach,
and that I will well and faithfully
and that I will well and faithfully
discharge my duties
discharge my duties
as council member of the city of Satellite Beach,
as council member of the city of Satellite Beach,
for which I have been elected.
for which I have been elected. And one final round of applause for our outgoing mayor.
You guys are up.
You're so far back, I don't know where to stand. My real honor tonight to swear in every mayor. It's a privilege to be one of those for many years. And why he's today sit for us. He used to be outside, obviously. It didn't let me know my wife. But then we're glad we served on council together and good to help solve. I thank you. Solemnly swear.
solemnly swear
That I will support and uphold
that I will support and uphold
the Constitution of the United States,
the Constitution of the United States
and the state of Florida,
and the state of Florida,
as well as the Satellite Beach City Charter,
as well as the Satellite Beach City Charter,
City Code,
the city code,
and the city ordinances.
and the city ordinance.
And that I will well
That I will well
faithfully discharge
and faithfully discharge
the duties of the office
the duties of the office
of Satellite Beach City Mayor,
of Satellite Beach City Mayor,
which I've been elected.
which I have been elected.
Congratulations.
I have it.
I did. Sitting next to you? Oh, my goodness. Whatever side I go to.
Do we all get the new agenda? How, the order? Okay, great. I did not, but that's fine. Didn't get it. Okay. Call an audible. Let's see what we got here. Okay. Thank you. We will have the new council member speak. Lorraine, would you like to start?
Thank you. I would like to begin by thanking all of the folks who helped with my campaign in ways large and small. Every bit helped. Can you all hear me? Am I being heard?
No, it's kind of loud outside.
Every bit helped, and I'm very grateful for what all of you did. In addition, I would like to mention by name some folks who went the extra mile and sponsored some very special events. I would like to thank Dee Anderson and Martha Kirby, Harry and Darlene Pollack, Barbara and Dominic Montanaro, Pat Sams, Zena McLean, Charlie Hinton, and Linda Page. And I reserve a special thank you to my good friend John Fergus. He was the glue, the tireless energy that actually kept 3 campaigns going, and he never flinched and he never wavered and he never does, and I thank him for his help with the campaigns. And I also thank him now officially as a council member for all of the hard work he has done over the past 14 years, bringing in millions of dollars of grant money to the city. So, John, I thank you very much. To our wonderful city employees, I say simply this: welcome home. You are the ones who are responsible for our first-class city services, and your dedication and your hard work have earned our respect and our gratitude, and I thank you so very much for all that you do. To our experienced volunteers, I say simply, welcome back. You helped build our city, and you and all of our volunteers are valued. I thank you for your efforts. To our business community, there are ways that we can make Satellite Beach more business-friendly, and I will work with our council to make that happen. To our residents, I will work to maintain the services and community appearance standards that keep our property values among the highest in Brevard County. To our taxpayers, I have heard your message of fiscal constraint and will spend your tax dollars accordingly. Now it's time for our city to heal. Leadership starts at the top, and so it must start with our elected council members, and it must start now. To those who disagree with me, as well as those who support me, I will welcome your constructive participation in a team effort to move our city forward. To everyone in Satellite Beach, we must take the lessons learned from the past year and build on them to restore our city and ensure that our quality of life is preserved. I look forward to working hard on behalf of everyone who lives or works in Satellite Beach, and I thank you for the honor of representing you on our city council. Thank you very much.
Well, first of all, I'd like to thank the voters for coming out this year. We had 81% of our registered voters come out and vote this year, which was really nice to see. So it's a good turnout, and I just appreciate everybody being involved at the city level, voter level. I want to take a moment just to thank my campaign manager, my wife. Beautiful job. Thank you so much. If you ever need help with the campaign, this lady's the one to do it. She knows it all. But thank you. Love you. Appreciate all your hard work. Several months ago, one of the things I embarked on as I began my process of running for council is I thought we needed a new vision within the city to kind of move us forward. And that's been pretty much my campaign process as we move forward. The three things that I wanted to stay with over this next year and want to work on, I'll just repeat for tonight's purposes just so everybody knows kind of where I'm coming from. As far as I'm concerned, our city employers are the most valuable resource that we have. They make our city, they serve our citizens, they make it possible for everybody to live the quality of life that we live. Several years ago when I was on council, one of the things that we did that I thought was a very good initiative, actually Mayor Schechter was mayor at the time, we wanted to kind of get a pulse of where the citizens and the city staff needed to be. So we did what was called a salary survey. We actually had the council gave the task to the city manager to come up and do a salary survey to take a look at where all the city employees were. I think that once that we get a new city manager, one of the first things that we need to do is to find out where our employees are with their salaries. Also take a look at the benefits as well. Just really kind of get a pulse for where everything needs to be within our city. We had at that point we had a tremendous turnover in any city staff, especially in the fire department. And just knowing where employees were and how things worked really helped within the city to help us move forward with a vision. The second part was to work on the 100 acres up in Patrick Air Force Base in our Montecito area. That is absolutely essential for moving our economy forward. And I'm not talking about just building strip malls and that sort of thing. Our city staff is working hard with the base and with the developer to try to move that initiative forward so we've got some good paying jobs that will help our city's economy. And we have to develop that land. We have to move that land forward in order to make this city viable financially for years to come. And lastly, as many of you may remember, I was very involved with Communities for a Lifetime within our Brevard County and our state government. Even at the Tallahassee level, I was involved with our Department of Health and our Department of Elder Affairs to try to make this an elder-friendly and multi-generational friendly community. That was something that I worked on very hard with our council, including Councilman Katina. We worked very hard on that. And there were times we won awards from the Environmental Protection Agency for smart growth and really developing a city that could be a shining light within our Brevard County areas. We also worked with the Brevard County Commission as well. So one of the things that I'm going to work with council and, of course, ask their permission to do is to revive that process, work with our fire department, our police department, our rec department, and all our various departments to pull that back together again, because I think that'll help unite our community. So again, the three things are I want to take care of our employees and find out where they are and not lose any of our employees. Secondly, work on an economic development plan for our 100 acres. And third, let's build this together as a Communities for a Lifetime that we had once before. So thank you again for having me, and I'm glad to be back. Appreciate it.
Thank you. I want to thank a lot of people who, not just through this election, but through the years, has supported me, especially my wife, who, I'll tell you the story. I get called for jury duty, and I go up in front of the judge. We all got to state our name, and I state my name and go to sit down, and he says, hold on. He says, so you're the guy whose wife has the real job. So anyway, my wife's been very supportive of me through all the years, and my family. And I thank them and all the people that helped me in this campaign and through the time. Dave Schechter, thank you very much. I just want to read this one thing I wrote. I believe that we as a council and the citizens of Satellite Beach must treat all people's views with respect, even if they differ from our own. We must work together to find what works for Satellite Beach for the future. I hope there is no old guard or new guard, just the guard that moves Satellite Beach forward in a positive way. And at the end of the day, we need to ask ourselves, did the decisions that we made make Satellite Beach a better place? I am very much looking forward to working with the citizens and the employees of this city and council members. And thank you. Okay, at this time, we will recess the meeting for a few minutes. We're going to have a break.
We're breaking for cake.
Cake. For cake.
Breaking for
A break for cake.
Jeez, I just got seated.
Got that going. Board, for the following agenda items. First item was moved up from item 14, is now agenda item 8. Discuss, take action on proposed revision to the CRA plan adopted schedule option A. Councilwoman Dean, you...
Oh, I'm sorry, he was talking to this. I just want to make one statement, and it's for the new council, that CRA is responsible for adopting their own budget, which is why the resolution is here before us this evening. Although it's put into the final budget and it's adopted overall in the city budget as an ordinance, this is only ordinance number 3, because so far we've had original budget adopted by the CRA, then an amendment, and now the third amendment. So I just wanted to make that clear for everybody. And with that, I'll make a motion to approve resolution 3.
Second. I have a motion by Councilwoman Dean or a motion by Councilwoman Dean, second by Mr. Kinberg. Council comments?
Wait a second.
Okay.
That resolution was already adopted
Correct.
earlier,
Correct.
so it doesn't need to go again, is my understanding.
Oh, I'm sorry, I'm talking about the schedule. Sorry about
Yes.
that, let me get there.
Option A.
I couldn't hear what you were saying.
We're discussing the proposed revision to the CRA plan adoption schedule, which was originally
I'm
adopted
sorry, I
as
couldn't hear
option
what you were
A.
saying.
That was agenda item number 14 and is
Okay.
now number 8.
On this one, what had happened was the CRA had voted on an adoption schedule. We had a choice of 2 schedules, A or B, for the update of the redevelopment plan. We voted on A, but at our last meeting, at our CRA meeting, we all agreed to amending the schedule to allow opportunity for the new council members and the mayor to be interviewed as stakeholders as part of the process. So what has been done is a schedule has been put together, allowing additional timeframes so that the 2 new council members and the mayor can be interviewed as part of the process, and perhaps a workshop be held to discuss the goals so that you're part of the update of the redevelopment plan. And the documentation shows the revised schedule. If I guess the hiccup was that we didn't vote on delaying the process a month or amending the schedule. So we really need a vote if we're going to do that.
Okay.
So I apologize earlier. I just couldn't hear what you were saying. It was noisy.
That's all. Councilman, yes.
I'm wondering what has taken so long. They were given until November 30th to come up with a draft redevelopment plan, and now they're looking at an extension of 2 more months. And now they're talking about doing these interviews before they submit the draft and doing a workshop. As far as I'm concerned, first of all, I have not been contacted to be interviewed. But secondly, I think the draft plan needs to move forward. I can always add any comments I have, and so can Councilman Breimer and Mayor Catino, when we give the draft back to them for finalizing. But to me, this is just needless delay of 2 more months, and it's wasted time, and I think it needs to move.
Well, it's up to the board if you want it to move, but the point was that all of the board members were interviewed extensively as stakeholders as part of the process. So if you choose not to be part of that process, and it's going to move expeditiously, and you may have a change order to the existing contract if you go out of scope and change things extremely based on what your goals and intents are for the CRA. And it may cost the city or the CRA additional funding.
Mark, any comments?
No, I can say long ago in the process I was interviewed. Have I been interviewed recently? No, I have not. But
And the reason why you were not interviewed is because you weren't on the board until this evening, so they can't really set up interviews until you're on the board.
Right. I don't want to add any additional cost. Here's my theory on it. We've worked, or they have worked, for an extended period of time on this plan. To interview me for 20 minutes or half hour to make any real substantial change to the plan, I'm not sure I'm gaining anything. I'd really like to see the plan, come to us. And is November 30th the day that, can they meet that deadline? Or are they waiting for us to continue before we get the plan?
Well, I'm assuming they could put the draft plan on the web, what their contract says, but they were kind of directed by us at the last CRA board meeting to include you folks, and we had asked you while you were in the audience, so.
And the plan is very well vetted, as you know. I mean, it's been through multiple workshops and discussions during CRA. I kind of like Ms. Scott's point. If you all feel that you can do it as a draft review, then I say let's try.
That's fine, man.
Okay, well, I'm just concerned that you all may be concerned about the goals and objectives that were set by the
This was done for the right reason, to get you all's input.
Yeah,
but
it was
if you guys
intended as a courtesy.
to get your input via draft, let's do it that way.
That was intended as a courtesy to the new council members, because the 3 new council members, or committee members, believe that they don't need it, then.
No action, and you have it set that the draft will be to us hopefully in a couple of days. Is the 30th the day?
I was going to say, it's 2 days from now.
2 days from now? Is that, so no action needed, just stick with the plan the way we're going.
Okay.
Okay. We've done, take action to propose revision to CRA plan adoption schedule, we just did that, so we're finished there. And we'll close that meeting and reconvene the city council meeting. Okay, we'll move on to agenda item here, number 10, return proposal, comprehensive plan amendment to the CPAB for final review in December before council submission to DEO in January.
Point of order, what are you looking at?
Did you get the revised?
No.
She doesn't have the revised, and that's the problem.
That's all right. Okay, that's, I was handed a revised.
Yeah.
Okay. That was item number 10 now, is return proposed comprehensive plan.
This is the old item.
It's still item.
It's the old number 8, is that?
Old number 8.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, well, that was my item, so.
You're on.
I know that the council approved tonight the amendment dealing with the military installation issue. But I also understand that there were several other amendments that were proposed by the Comprehensive Planning Board, and that no action has been taken on those. I have a concern about the 100 acres that are sitting empty up in Pelican Coast. I would love to see things move forward so that appropriate development could come in there. And so what I would like to do is, with the council's consent, is to ask the Comprehensive Planning Board if they would convene a special meeting in December. Their regular meeting is scheduled for Christmas Eve, so that's not going to happen. So if they would call a special meeting, thank you, to review those amendments one more time, make sure that they still say what they want them to say, and then so that they can come back to this council in January so we can do a first reading on an ordinance and then get those to DEO for their concurrence and get this process moving.
Well, I think one of the things that we really, this council never really had the opportunity to fully get through the comprehensive plan. Am I correct? We had directed the city manager to do a workshop between And we just never got that far, so.
That was going to be coming up, and we were waiting for the new council to be involved in that as well.
I mean, I understand this is also with respect to the 100 acres up north, it is, future land use is residential, low-density residential. And there's also, it's not as simple as just changing the comp plan amendment and voila, a developer's going to come in and develop. There's extensive deed restrictions that go along with that property. So I prefer, and I also noticed in the comprehensive plan too, there's a lot of restrictions that are more stringent than even the state requirements for coastal construction and things like that. I think we need to take a serious look at.
So we want to send it back? Is that your?
I would like to do a workshop on it rather than just push it through.
Well, then I'm going to move that we ask the Comprehensive Planning Board to convene a special meeting in December to review the amendments that they've already submitted, see if they are still what the board wants to ask us to consider, and get this process moving.
Okay. Got a motion by Councilwoman Gott. Do I have a second?
I'll second that.
Second by Councilman Brimer. At this time, I'll open it up the floor for discussion. Don?
Don McClendon, citizen. Councilman Brimer mentioned in his campaign literature that he was going to focus on the 100-acre vacant parcel. I had also included that in the new city manager prospectus about the city, that it is one of our prime areas, one of the few prime areas that we could potentially derive new revenue from. I think someone just mentioned that they thought that was low density. Unless something has changed that I'm not aware of, and I'm more than happy to be corrected, there was a lot of density changes made to that project as it proceeded along. And as a matter of fact, I think most citizens were not aware that higher density levels were placed on that parcel of land, especially along A1A, where there are high-rise, high-density residential housing. Were originally, we were told that wasn't the big case. So, yeah, it certainly needs to be looked at, make sure that it's going to meet our objectives as a city for a revenue producer, and also for a fit and finish with the city as we're accustomed to and we like. Somebody mentioned that Disney likes park. Well, who am I to say? Nevertheless, it does need some time to be looked into, and I don't think it should be rushed. But my understanding also is that one of the major impediments still to that whole parcel, not just 100 acres, is, I could be wrong on percentage, but I think the airport still retains a 5% interest in the underlying land up there. The county tax appraiser is now taxing the improvements, which means the houses up there, but the land is not taxed. A pilot program was put in place to help reimburse the city for services. It was agreed with Continental Hunt, $95,000. I think the tax revenue, last I heard, was in the 70s. But the main thing that I would like to see is somehow, I think Senator Nelson was the one who mentioned he wasn't going to allow this prime property to go to some out-of-state developers, as part of it did. But it's a long haul, but it'd be really nice if we could get the airport to relinquish that 5% interest. And I think that the tax appraiser's reasoning for taxing that property now is it's more commercial use than it is military use. Thank you.
Thank you, Don.
Mayor, may I respond? We did get a check just the other day from Hunt for $105,000. So that was, we had budgeted in about 95, so that's almost 10,000 in excess.
Right. That's the pilot, right?
That is correct.
Okay.
Mr. Mayor, I have another point of order. The motion is simply to ask the Comprehensive Planning Board to meet in December to review these amendments. It's not a discussion about what use we will make of that land, so we need to stick to the topic.
Good evening, newly elected council members and new council. Testing, is it working? Okay. Roger Gibbs, Satellite Beach resident. I welcome the new sworn-in council members. And I have a little question on procedures. I don't know who to direct this to. I know there's a zealousness to get things done here, and I agree with that. I don't recall this being set as an agenda item, as it states in our policies and procedures. And I'm looking at specifically page 5, council policies and procedures. The agenda for a meeting is prepared by the city manager in conference with the mayor. 1, routine items. Council members desiring to have an item placed on an agenda shall do so by making the correct request during the previous meeting. I'm not going to read the rest of it here.
Ron, excuse me a second. This is about the comprehensive plan to speak. It is on our agenda.
I
Agenda
understand
time.
that. I understand it's on the agenda. I simply question procedures here. Respectfully, very respectfully, our council members were just sworn in, correct?
We were.
And we already had a request from a council person who was not sworn in for this agenda item. I'm merely asking for procedures here. That is all I am asking. Thank you.
Thank you.
Vic Rungard, long-term resident of Satellite Beach, volunteer with the Satellite Beach Fire Department, Police Department, and Marine Patrol for many thousands of hours. I love the city, and I would like to suggest to the incoming members of the board that you listen very carefully to what Don and Ron said, because a rush to judgment is not a good thing. As a former member of the Brevard County Planning and Zoning Board and the local planning agency, many times people came with a rush to judgment trying to get things done without sufficient background. I just would like to ask you to very carefully look at this, since this parcel has such a high impact financially in the future on Satellite Beach, the city which I love very much, and I'll probably be a resident again in 2013. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other? John?
John Curtis, 135 Maple. Those comp plan amendments was canceled 9 months ago, whatever it was. There hasn't been any constructive action on them in the meantime. I would suggest that the mayor ask our consultant on the CPA on the comp plan about the window of opportunity that is closing. We've got things we'd like to do on the 100 acres. We've dilly-dallied around with this thing for far too long. It needs to be dealt with, send it back, have a last look at it since it's been a long time, make sure that everything still looks good. He has already identified one item that should be put in that we pull that. Conditions have changed. Get it done, get it back, no workshops, no stuff that drags this thing on. Take it back, send it forward, get it adopted.
Can I ask you a question?
Yeah.
John, if you could define for me what this critical window of opportunity is, just because that's part of the motion of having this another meeting.
Mr. LaRue should have answered that question.
It's associated with the change from DCA to the DO, DEO. And again, I think Tim LaRue's probably the best one to describe that, because there's developments in that that have developed since I was a member of the board, so he's the best source.
Thank you, John. Any other,
I have a question. Mr. Lurie, what is, I know there's no,
is there any other public comment?
oh, I'm sorry. So we're done.
Hearing none, bring it back to council.
Mr. Lurie, is there a statutory requirement to get the comp plan amendment to the state? And what is this, the window of opportunity?
There are no actual drop dead dates in terms of your major update of your comprehensive plan, but as you remember with the new legislation, the next expedited review, there are things that we did recommend that you would change to take advantage of the new legislation. And some of those, of course, having to do with hotel usage and some of the economic development, as well as taking care of the coastal high hazard area and making that to be consistent with what the regional planning council did. So really, it's interesting now because it's kind of, the DEO has an expedited review before you do what used to be the OVAR amendments, and it's a much easier review to get some of this legislation and things done, and that's really the reason why there's not a drop, we don't drop dead if we don't do something at a certain time, but it makes it, as time goes on, the reviews get a little bit more strict than they were before, and that's one of the reasons why you want to have your updated plan as soon as you can to go along with the new legislation. You remember those things that we did go over, which were to make sure that we had a little easier time from the economic development as well as the coastal high hazard area. So there are reasons to do it, but I can't say to you that you will have a date, you have to have it in. They don't have it that way anymore, but the restriction of being able to do the expedited review is an advantage. You want to take it now if you can. That's why.
Some folks are misunderstanding the process here. Anything regarding the comprehensive plan starts with the Comprehensive Planning Advisory Board. And for the council to start having a workshop or anything else they want to do or discuss any of these other matters that have been mentioned here, it starts with the input from the Comprehensive Planning Advisory Board. And so until we get some solid input from them with their best advice to the council, we're just kind of dead in the water on this. And to me, it doesn't make any sense to just keep sitting on this. And that's all the motion does. It just gets the process started once again.
Just a question, because it had brought out, how does one get, if you're not on the board or on the council, get an agenda item put on the agenda? It's true when you look at the procedures.
Well, there's a couple ways. You submit it to the chair at the end of this meeting, or you submit it to the city manager.
No, I'm just saying prior to being on the city council.
Well, prior to it.
That's a good point. It was a very good point.
The city manager, along with Mayor Ferrante, helped put them on the list for us tonight, so we could get moving on.
I'm just asking because we took items off the agenda because of, we set the agenda, and then all of a sudden now we have this gigantic agenda with things that we weren't aware that were going to.
Actually, it was longer than this, I think, when we sat down to look at it.
In any event, the point was the Comprehensive Planning Board has already, Jim, am I correct, been through the process of commenting. So really we're at the point where it needs to come to us for review and comment. Am I correct?
Well, you can do it however you want to in terms of being the policymakers and reviewing that. And then you had some comments. If it goes back to the CPAB, I would certainly show the comments that we had from the workshops that we had, and they would look at that. The other point to remember is that concurrency for school concurrency, I came before you all and said that would, at this point, put that back in, so you really should take that back to the CPAB one more time and see if there's anything other. I think I can reconstruct some of the comments that you made from the workshops, do that quickly with them in December meeting, and then come back to you in January. The point is, you really don't want to have it just stagnant to where you don't get the process back to them. I just think
I was going to say, we did have CPAB input here, and we did discuss it for a long time, a couple of times, as I recall.
A lot, actually.
But I agree with Ms. Scott. I think we need to take what we have said and send it back to the CPAB and get on with it.
And I probably didn't do a very good job. I didn't know how much I should talk or not, but what my agenda for them would be to show the comments
Okay.
that you made
Well, that makes
compared to
sense.
what they did in February, and then some of my recommendations based on the school concurrency, and you can do that quickly.
And when can we get a meeting set up? When is there, can we look?
We would, working with Lenore on that, and it would probably be this December schedule. Of course, it has to be before the holidays, but we would have to make
Does
sure
that
that the LPA would be available.
I mean, it's a quick turnaround time for the 10th, but I don't know with the legal notices we were talking.
I think the 12th would be probably,
12th would be better.
yes, it would.
There's nothing scheduled on Wednesday for CPAB, it's just a matter of, do we have a quorum to meet on Wednesday?
If you could let us do a date early December to meet the publication notice, that would be the best.
Let me ask you this just from a time constraint and so forth. If it's not something that's, has to be done in time frame immediately, is this a January issue after the holidays? Or do we just get it going, get the meetings called, and let's do it? That's why I asked when is it
I
available.
think you're better to do the
Okay.
December meeting, and then you would have in January the ability to be able to look at it again.
Mr. Mayor, normally the boards set their own meeting dates. I mean, you have to have coordination with those
I just want to make
members.
sure that is in the process so we don't get it dropped.
But I'm saying I don't think that we should be assigning a meeting date to that board because they may not be able to make it.
They can
The
pick
cha-
their own.
The chair is here, by the way.
Be subject to being able to meet the publication requirements would be the way I would do it. If you would approve it that way, then the December meeting would be subject to me.
Well, I just asked, Ms. Scott, I think that the regular CPAB meeting date is Christmas Eve, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes.
So, yeah, I'd say let's hand it over to them and say, get together when you can. Yep.
Great. We have a motion by Councilman Godd, second by Councilman Brimer. There are no
What was
further
the motion again?
To send this back to the CPA.
With our comments.
With our
With
comments.
the comments, because I just want to make sure, because it says to bring it back for submission to DEO in January. I want to make sure that it's just to send it back with our comments, then to come back to us. Not to be submitted in January. I mean, that's pretty.
The motion was just to return the proposed amendments to the CPAB for them to review it to see if it's still what they want to say before they send it back to us. That's the crux of the motion.
Lenore?
Councilmember Bowman?
Yes.
Councilmember McGinnis?
Yes.
Councilmember Weimer?
Yes.
Councilmember Bach?
Yes.
Mayor Peters?
Yes. Motion passes. Moving on to
Thank you,
agenda.
Mayor. I'll try to coordinate that from our standpoint with Lenore.
Thank you very much. Moving on to council recognition. Introduction of any guests we have tonight.
I would. I've got my mom and dad, Chuck and Pat Bowman, here in the audience.
Welcome. Thank you. City citizens' comments, Lenore?
I have Mr. Jagrotis as the first person to speak.
Good evening once again. Ron Judas, resident of Satellite Beach. Once again, I would welcome the new council members and welcome the new council as a full board. Please look to the future and future decisions in a positive way and build upon the city's past accomplishments so that all citizens in the city benefit from your decisions. There will be contentious moments. There will be issues that arise. But just please remember to look for positiveness in this so that positive solutions can arise. And also, please embrace understanding the future, how it's changing going forward. New technologies, innovation, thinking in ways where perhaps we've never thought. There are younger people out there who bring many more things and benefit all of us.
Thank you, Ron. Appreciate it. Thank you very much.
Thomas London?
Tom McClendon, citizen. First, I'd like to congratulate I'll say the new familiar faces rather than the new old faces.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I'd like to also commend the citizens of Satellite Beach for the incredible turnout for this election. And in that same vein, I'd like to, again, as I've done many times, compliment the citizens who are in this chamber tonight. It's something new in recent years. There were many times in the past 20 years when there were no citizens attending meetings. Citizens' involvement and comments are an integral part of our government, and especially at the local level. I think we need to encourage that. Mr. Gurris' comment about technology started out as a discussion about cameras in use in the chamber. That progressed to a young man that was present that night saying he could get something up and going pretty quick, and it evolved in what we have now as far as transparency. For those people that are either unable to attend meetings or chose not to, in the last year they've had a great opportunity to review over and over and over in depth of what has transpired, good and bad, depending on your perspective. Anytime there's change, there's going to be consternation or issues. A Donism that I used to have, I call it the wild pony theory. You affect change, so somebody said you go out and catch a wild pony, so you go out and you lasso this pony, and it's snorting, it's kicking, it's fighting, you bring it back in, put a saddle on it, get settled down, train, everything looks good, and the boss says, go get me another wild pony. So it kind of never goes away, but we need to, again, we need to keep moving forward on some of the groundwork that we've laid. One thing we want to do is continue to be fiscally responsible. There were some comments made, or a question was asked at the last meeting, or Meet the Candidates meeting. One of them was about Peglex property. In 03, a citizen bought that for $340,000. 06, 3 years later, the city bought it for $1,525,000. Today's market value is listed at $175,000. Candidates on the podium said that they would just as soon sell that property. Nevertheless, we still hold that note that says it's commingled in our CRA funds. So that note is still outstanding, and there's no way, even if we could get $175,000, we can put that back into the CRA due to the, I won't mention that, it's coming up later, but anyway, let's continue moving forward and let's get the city healthy financially, and I think all other things will fall into place. Thank you.
Thank you, Don.
Laura Kennedy.
Good evening, Laura Kennedy, resident of Satellite Beach.
Good evening.
Mayor. Congratulations on council
Thank you.
members. I'm glad that you're joining for a full council this evening. It's been a while, as you know, and I don't speak often as a resident, but in this case it's important to me, and it's important to all of us. I had not seen in the minutes or the coverage in the news any discussion about how the Satellite Beach City Council was going to feel about the closure of Sea Park Elementary School and its impact on our city. Some of those unintended impacts are the ones that I don't believe have come to light. And I feel like as a resident and a taxpayer, I want to make sure that our community understands that we probably need to support keeping Sea Park open, but not just for the reasons that we all know and love. First of all, this city was founded on Percy Hedgecock and others, but on his belief that our children should go to school in our community. And that doesn't change the fact that Sea Park is not technically in our boundaries of our city. Our children's friends live there.
They go to school there, and they commingle all of the schools each side. So to close one school and have 1/3 of the children go to Holland and 2/3 be shipped up past the Air Force Base to Cocoa Beach at Roosevelt is doing our children an injustice. And those children will also then funnel into our junior high and our high school. And there are many people I see in the audience who either went to school here, and their children went to school here, and their grandchildren will go to school here. And that's the legacy that we were trying to build of our community for many, many, many years, and I want to see that preserved. I think right now it's a little, from the podium today, it's a little too hard to get through all of the arguments, but there's some important dates that are coming up, and that's why I would like to see this item perhaps added to your December 5th, I think is your next meeting schedule, so that staff can perhaps come back with a report and we can maybe at least formulate some kind of argument, because the Brevard County School Board meets on December 11th, and I think we have to stand united. One of the major impacts on the is 100 acres is going to be developed. It's currently zoned residential. 3-2 in smaller family-style homes. So we are trying to replenish our community with families. As older residents age out and as their homes sell and turn over, we are seeing an increase in new families in our community. And we don't want to be locked out of any future growth at Pelican Coast. So I think we need to say that, but we need to do it in a hurry and at least get a letter out to the school board regarding the camp. Because what's going to happen when they come knocking on our schools to close our schools? We really need to look at that. Thank you.
Thank you. And I'll comment on that on the schools. I attended the meeting the other night on it. Thank you.
I have Rachel Morris.
Thank you. I come to you as an inarticulate speaker. I was reminded by the city clerk one time of how inarticulate I am, and I still am very inarticulate. But I'm also very interested in the city. And because of my interest, I've donated countless thousands of hours, unpaid, to the city as a paramedic, as a firefighter, as a volunteer police officer, and as a member of the Marine Patrol, and countless other things. Ron and Don mentioned something which is dear to my heart, and that is, for the incoming council members, try, if you can, to be positive about citizens that get up in front of you and talk with thoughts of positive nature for the city of Satellite Beach. One of the things that happened to me was I was duck walked out of here this year, and somebody said that I was not a resident. And if you check back, I have been a resident since 1998 in this city, off and on. I really would hope that for the incoming board, that if anybody is attempting to try to offer positive suggestions for the city, that you listen to them. Thank you.
Thank you. Lauren, you have other speakers? Okay, we'll move on then to agenda item number 12, council comments. Councilman Deanan, you'd like to start?
I just wanted to welcome the new council and the mayor. Looking forward to working with you, and good next few years.
Great, thank you. Councilman Dillon?
Yeah, I wanted to give a goodbye and a hello statement. So if you would, I'm just going to read a goodbye and a hello statement. And I'm sorry that I don't think there's any of the past council members for the mayor stayed. Good for them. They went to get a beer. But to the outgoing mayor and council members, hopefully they'll read this. I extend my thanks and admiration for their diligent and hard work over the past year to partner with the hardworking city staff to find substantive efficiencies in our government. All of that without laying anybody off. I think their hard work demonstrated that efficient government is in fact possible. The hard work, though, of which I speak included more than just doing the efficiency stuff. The exceptionally difficult work actually came during the budget discussions, and those of you who were here experienced that for the coming year, which really in effect, became a series of debates, sometimes contentious, on how to best spend Satellite Beach taxpayers' money. It wasn't pretty, it wasn't pleasant, and it wasn't easy. But there was much disagreement and gnashing of teeth throughout the process, and really, in my mind, from a good government perspective, I think it was a democratically pleasant experience. After all, in my opinion, a body of five that consistently agrees with each other has far too many people on it. But at the end of this past year's sausage-making process that we went through, though at times difficult and with difficult debate and compromise, this past council, three of whom left, did the people's business, I think, and passed a fiscally responsible budget. A budget so deeply debated and in the end so fiscally responsible that even the Florida Today commented on our process propriety, heralding it as an example for our nation's government to emulate, which is something. I welcome our three new and returning members. I know them to be passionate and caring individuals for the city. And even though we won't always agree on things, I know that we all have the city's best interests at heart when we'll be arguing and debating. And that, I think, is the fundamental point that needs to be remembered as we all serve together, and at times, I am sure, aggressively debate amongst us. Though some may believe we do this for the arguably immense pay that we all receive for doing this job, or the admiration that's bestowed on us via the flowing accolades from citizens when they come to the council, we actually endure all of this for only one reason, and that's because we all care deeply about the city. I think we have a lot of good potential this year to follow up on the good efficiency work that we did. As an example, I hope that the fire chief's technology push to save the 3 FTEs over the next few years, saving the city approximately $400,000 per year and protecting the lives of our firefighters, is remembered and instituted. And the police chief's push to improve while reducing our police fleet, saving us tens of thousands of dollars annually, while providing continually reliable patrol vehicles to our officers, is considered and kept. Many more efficiencies are out there, I think, and need to be instituted. However, there are some that have yet to even be defined yet. And because of that, I think we need to retain some sort of a semblance of the KPEC. I look forward to the debate and the compromise process continuing as we all carry out our sworn duty to do what we each believe is best for our great city. And God bless us all, and welcome to our debate club. Thank you. Councilman Gott?
Nothing else.
Concerning more on the Sea Park School, I attended the meeting 6:30 on Monday evening at Satellite High School, and they made the presentation to the audience there, which was both from Cocoa Beach, because of the impact it will have on that school, and the residents or parents that have kids that go to Sea Park. The school isn't really going to be closed. It's not going to be, they want to not make it an elementary school any longer. It's at 90% capacity now and growing. They're going to make adult ed out of it because it costs less to operate an adult ed facility than it does an elementary school. There'll be approximately, and the figures are still yet to be worked out, about 220 kids that will be bused from that area to, I believe the school's River Breeze, if I'm not, Roosevelt, yeah, in Cocoa Beach. A lot of the questions that were brought up is, God forbid we have another 9/11, what happens? And their comment is, we're just going to bus them around. You got to realize a lot of them are 5- and 6-year-old kids that are going to be bussed around. The line is very interesting. Where they have it split, it's not a street line. It zigzags through communities, where one side of the street will end up at Holland, another side of the street will end up in Cocoa Beach. So it was interesting dynamics. It's not going to be finally voted on, and I believe the date is the 22nd of January. So there is time. There'll be a couple more meetings. They had some workshops up there the other night, but to me, my perception of it, they're pretty intent to close that school. Some of the comments were, can't we split these children up better through the school in Indian Harbor, taken in Surfside, and taken in Holland to do it. And that was some of the comments that the parents made, but it was an interesting meeting. So I will be attending some more of them. But the 22nd of January. It will go into effect for the next school year.
So is this something that we want to put on the agenda for next time?
I think we need to gather some, right now, I think what we need to do is gather information. I'm not sure it needs to be on the 5th agenda. It could be on our 19th agenda. Maybe there'll be some more information available from them. They couldn't answer a lot of questions. Also, the person doing the presentation, there was a lot of questions asked from the audience that really didn't get an answer. So,
would it be possible to have somebody from the department come and brief the council?
Yes, but there is another plan on the table that probably was not discussed that night, and that is the possibility of closing Freedom 7 and placing those children really on the same street on Minuteman Causeway. And my son had gone to the IB program at Cocoa Beach years ago, junior, senior high. To close Freedom 7, place the IB program as a school within a school at Roosevelt, and then basically redistrict this area so that even the children in the base housing, northern part, might then also be able to be included in our schools here, because they do come to Satellite High and to Delora. So these are students, these are children who, I agree, Laura, are all part of our community. And, we don't see the jurisdictional boundary line there. We're looking at going north 11 miles. So that's on the table as well, and the numbers are being crunched on that. So it really does depend on how those numbers come up.
do we want to try to get someone here from the county school, or school board?
And I can ask Amy Nisi, that's with whom I've been speaking on this issue, and I plan to talk with Dane Theodore as well, but he is evidently crunching the numbers. So that is a possibility as well.
I think your idea of getting Amy here is a good one. She's come and spoken to us before.
Right.
When this originally came up about 2.5, 3 years ago, when it originally came up,
Exactly.
she came and updated the whole community on that.
Yeah,
So
and I think
that
that's
might
an
be the best
excellent-
place to start.
I think that's an excellent place to start. And she had volunteered when she spoke with me to do that, and I said that would be great.
I think maybe the 19th, that'll give them
Okay.
a meeting on the 11th, then maybe we'll gather some more information, but they did not bring that proposal up.
No.
Some of the residents started bringing it up, and it was very interesting how quickly it was shut down.
Mhm.
But here and there,
Mhm.
I'd love to get them here, probably the 19th would be
Okay.
a better date, because the agenda was full for that. Okay, going on, city attorney's report.
I have nothing.
Excuse me. Okay, interim city manager's report?
Yes, the 513, State Road 513 landscaping project is progressing well, and if anyone is interested, because I did have a couple of calls as to how far north along the west side this was going to go, and it's going to go all the way up basically to the jurisdictional boundary, or close. We don't have a lot of room there to plant, but they are going to, and I did take a look at the plan, so that should be finished late December. The Cassia project continues to advance, and again, that completion date is expected also in late December. So these are all good holiday presents. The IAFF firefighters' labor negotiations were canceled. They were supposed to have been held this morning from 9 to noon, and evidently they were in the midst of their elections, and so this will be rescheduled. And the suggestion is also to have a shade meeting with council so that Wayne Helsby, the labor attorney, can sound you out as to what your ideas are with regard to a number of different issues. Our new HR and benefits coordinator, part-time, began on November 19th, and her name is Flores Ward. Very nice woman, very competent. December 1st, I want to remind you too, is the Ocean Beach and Reef Festival from 10 to 5. That's going to be a big draw, and lots of, I would say maybe vendors, booths. It's very educational, and it's a big to-do, and it'll be at Pelican Beach. And they are expecting a big crowd, and Chief Pearson knows that. Yes. And I'd like to talk very quickly about the Satellite Cares program, and that's through the Satellite Beach Fire Department. So anybody who's interested in either giving a Publix food card or a Walmart gift card, or even just writing a check like I'm going to do, you can write it out to the Satellite Beach Reserves and put in the memo for Satellite Cares. This is specifically for families who really are truly needy. They're looking for food, clothing, and this type of thing. So I would just say that that's something that we can certainly do for the community. And again, it's the fire department. Anyone wants to know more about that, I'll be happy to give them more information, and so would the fire department. Oh, and Twilight Santa. Twilight Santa is going to be, and this is on the Satellite Beach website, on the home page. Basically, in the center of the page, you just click, it says, click here for the Twilight Santa schedule. So you can pull that up. And it does start on the 17th of December and runs the 17th, 18th, 19th, 20th, 21st, and the 22nd. And the travels will begin at 6 and they will go through 9. That's a pretty popular program. And the Brevard County Legislative Delegation is going to hold its annual meeting on December 12th. They're going to meet from 2 to 5 in the Brevard County Commission chambers. The primary purpose is to discuss any local issues that will be presented before the legislature, and they always split this into 2 sections. I've spoken at it many times. The first portion is limited to presentations by local government entities and those that are actually requesting local bill submissions, and the second portion is open to all organizations and citizens who would like to speak, and you are able then to be heard by your entire Brevard County legislative delegation. So if you wish to do that.
I'm sorry, when was that?
That is December 12th, and you really need to contact Chrissa Foley's office, Representative Chrissa Foley's office at 449-5111 if you wish to actually be put on the agenda.
And where's it going to be?
That is at the County Commission chambers, Brevard County Commission over in Viera. So, and thanks to Councilmember Deenan, she solicited, it's a bad term to say, collected $3,400 toward the Mike Crotty sign, and the city is putting $1,000 toward that, and we're moving forward on that with the sign, so it's looking good, and just wanted to thank you for that. And I think that's it.
And real quick, on the labor negotiations,
Yes.
since they canceled the meeting today, did they reschedule it for any day?
No,
at this
because,
time?
Wayne and I spoke about this, and one of his big concerns is, again, to get together with council in a shade meeting to sound you out, to find out what your desires are. And I think that's the first step. Before he goes into negotiations, he has to know what council's desires are.
Since he's already heard from a couple of us, does he have to have the entire council together for that, or can he do it one-on-one?
Well, that's an interesting question, and I'll ask him about that.
Is this something that's time sensitive, or could it be after the first? What's the...
They were thinking of waiting, well, it may end up being in January, because we are getting close to the holidays. So, and it depends on your wishes, if you want to get your input into him prior to the holidays, or if you wish to wait.
Council wishes?
I'm fine if we wait until January.
Yeah,
and do a
because
full
I really-
meeting.
I
That's
need to be brought
fine.
up to
That's-
speed.
Yeah, me too. I mean,
And I'll let him know.
unless it's something that is time sensitive, the holidays after,
I think
it's better.
collectively, we all ought to be there, just so we know where we're all coming from.
Yeah.
That's fine. Yeah.
Sounds good.
Thank you. It's not an action item. It's just a report from the city manager. Okay, moving on, we're going to go to old number 13, new number 15. Discuss, take action on discontinue the use of the agenda report form in council packet and the use of the city manager's narrative report to convey needed information. I believe this was brought up by Councilman Councilwoman Gotch?
When I was running for this office, my major theme was creating a conducive work environment for our city employees and getting unnecessary strain and tasking off of them. This agenda report form, to me, first of all, is very confusing, and it's more of a make work thing than anything else. The former city manager used to just make a report that was done in narrative form, numbered each paragraph according to the agenda items, and it was very easy to find the material in his reports, and then for each item in the packet that related to something on the agenda, somebody would write in big numbers at the top of the page, number, in this case, number 13. And so when you flipped through your packet, it was very easy to find what you were looking for, and it was very simple. And when I see all the things here in this packet, somebody had to sit down and state the obvious in these agenda report forms, and I would really like to see that busy work taken off of our employees. And so I would like to propose that we discontinue the use of that report form and go back to the narrative city manager's report that was used previously.
I'd like to comment. This form is actually from the Brevard County Board of County Commissioners, and we just inserted our logo. And the reason why we did it is we wanted a checks and balance mechanism to make sure that the department that was providing the agenda item prepared it, and then the city manager initialed it, that it was reviewed during the process, which takes place before it comes to us. And also we were concerned about legal compliance on certain legal issues. And that's why it was done, and also to make sure that the backup data was put into the agenda package, which was sometimes lacking, and it was very, very difficult to do your due diligence or to do your homework to make a decision. I don't care what format it comes in, as long as the background data is there. If you choose not to use the form, that's fine, but it's been a bailiwick with us in the past that a lot of the data was not attached to the
And one of the most important things I found off here, and again, we don't need to use this, but as long as we get the items that are on here, specifically what I have found most useful now, and this one it's an NA, but the fiscal impact. Because many times we'd ask, well, what's the fiscal impact of this effort? And it wasn't evident in the, in this sort of a, in this sort of a put together. So again, it doesn't have to be that format, but if that information would be resident.
It could be included in the narrative.
Yeah, that would be good.
Report.
Yeah, I'm fine with that. I've seen both ways, and I understand what Councilman Billman and Dean are saying, and I think if we've got financial impacts there, or fiscal impacts, I guess is the words to use, I think they need to be in there. But I always found the narrative very helpful. So if we could do a blend of that, I think that would meet the needs of what you're shooting for.
And what I'm hearing is information.
Yeah.
We really need information and easily found. One thing I find a little difficult, and I'll learn to deal with it, is there's no breaks in any of these pages. It just continues from one to the other. So when you first get the packet, if an insert was in there that was, I don't care what color, or something different.
That's what I do too.
Yeah, I label them, but if we used to have an insert, and not saying it's right or wrong, but it made it easier. You knew where one ended, the other one began, and you weren't thumbing through it, especially at the meetings.
Because lots of times you have variable amounts of backup data that's supplied. Yeah.
And I think just to clarify by narrative, you also mean some of the historical perspective that brought this forward as well. Is that correct?
Yes, whatever information the council wants, but not making staff do one of these busy work forms for everything. Because a lot of this stuff is just repetitious, and I know our staff has other things to do.
Well, I have to tell you that this is now our policy, believe it or not, is that when we want an agenda item, we were given this exact form to fill out, not only for City Council, but for the CRA. So that needs to be looked at as well. That's what we need to submit if we want something on the agenda, is this form.
Okay. Let me open up to citizens' comments here. Is there any citizen comment on this agenda item? John, please. Oh. That's okay. Come.
James before John.
You got it.
Gail Abrams, a resident. I happen to like the form that you're currently using. It's easy to understand. My question is, who puts all this information together in the city? And you mentioned the fact that Mr. Crotty used to do it, the narrative in the past. Is that correct? He did it all by himself.
He wrote his report.
Okay. So who's doing this now in the city?
It's falling mostly on the city clerk, is my understanding.
Okay. All right. The city clerk is doing the narrative through the
No,
direction of the city manager?
she's doing the form.
The form. You know, it's easy to understand, it's easy to read, instead of all these different bullets and numbers. You know, I personally like it, and I also like the fact of the financial stuff that's down there. And then I like the fact that this has been presented by such and such. So I think we should consider it for those of us who go to the website, and I print up all these agendas on my own paper, you know, to make it, you know, think about us too that are doing that.
Thank you. Don? Thank you.
As London citizen, I gotta print up my own paper too. I actually watched that new form evolve, and I don't necessarily print every agenda. I look at every agenda. And if you go to it online, which I'm sure many of you do before your packet is delivered to you, or if you happen to be out of town today, the packet is delivered to you, you have the opportunity to go online and download the PDF. The PDF on the left-hand side is an index, and you click on any of those index numbers, and you will come to that form. That form has a control number on it, links it to the agenda item. I find it extremely easy to follow. As far as busy work, until this past year, I've never seen council meetings run until after midnight. I suspect that's going to change, but I personally like the form. I would say the person that is, well, as far as the city manager giving a narrative, a flowing narrative of everything, by the very nature of the city manager's job, the city manager is to interface with council to share concerns and information with council, keep them abreast of what's going on, what this agenda item may, how it may impact the city, but as pointed out, financial impact is already on that form, very clear, stated. And there could be certainly a comment section in there. That form could be shot over, or the city manager could pick them up and insert city manager comments on that form, so you have it right there. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other comment? Back to Steve. Steve, thank you.
There's another thing to think about here, and that's with Google, Bing, and Yahoo searches. Google, Bing, and Yahoo searches will only search PDF pages. They'll only search the headers for individual pages. They will not search individual text within the pages. So if you have someone who goes to type building along Cassia, for example, or pavement along Cassia, if that's in a separate agenda item with a separate page, that will come up on the Google, Yahoo, and Bing searches. If it's in a narrative form, it most likely will not.
Thank you very much, Steve.
Get one back.
Ron?
Roger Goodis, resident Satellite Beach. Perhaps this form, from what I hear, needs some more work. I've been struggling also with background information, needing more background information. There are 3 items there: a summary, a presentation summary, and additional narrative. We do need to add a little more to this, but I think it is a good cover page as a start. have a sequence of agenda items. It needs to be tweaked.
Thank you. Sir.
Patrick McKay, resident. Regards to the comment about our city clerk and the additional work for her, at the last council meeting, it was discussed, and I heard other people, and they called me after watching that on YouTube, as to how hard our employees actually work. So, as far as I'm concerned, there are people that are running City Hall here should be ashamed of themselves.
Sir, this needs to be directed to the point of this form. No, sir, it needs to be directed to what's on the floor right now, which is this form.
Which that's what I'm addressing.
Okay.
One of the issues with it was the additional labor. What I'd like to comment is Councilwoman Dina, the point that she had made, she has gone over and beyond to make sure things get up straight and everything is done legally. And I think that everybody should be exercising the same caution.
Thank you very much. Well, my feeling is the reason for this form is, John, I apologize I didn't see you back there raising your hand. Thank you.
John Fergus, 135 Maple. That form is kind of an executive summary. When you get a real complicated technical report, I always read the executive summary first. Well, the way it's being done now, the executive summary is spread throughout the whole report. I like to be able to go in like I used to. Go in, I'm coming to a meeting, I'm looking or I'm contemplating it. I can go through, bang, 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 and look at these. I'm not having to read through page through page through page. I mean, this agenda is what, 175 pages? I shouldn't have to go through all those pages. I should have something up front, whether it's a form, whether it's a narrative, doesn't matter. A narrative would seem easier, but the city manager had the freedom to let it flow what works best for them. You folks tell them. We want to know who the primary responsible party is, the fiscal impact, whatever the details you want, if they're applicable. But put it all together, put it up front, so somebody doesn't have to read through a huge package to find out what's going on.
Thank you, John. Any other comment from the floor? Bring it back to council.
Yeah, I would like to comment. I think one of the, and this is used, like I said before, by the Brevard County commissioners. The point was not to create more work for Lenore. It was actually so that the department head, as you can see at the bottom, created the agenda item, the agenda report, and then the city manager would review it, and then if it needed legal review, then the city attorney would review it. That's it. It wasn't, the department heads should be responsible for their own agenda items. As a former city planner, that's what I did. I would prepare them, and then it went through the city manager for review. So I apologize if Lenore has some busy work and she's preparing them, but that was not the intent of the form.
I see it kind of as a staff summary sheet, like we're talking about. And I guess what we should do is ask the city manager how much extra work it is.
Well, let me just say this, that that is exactly what is done. If John Stone, Building and Zoning, has an agenda item, he fills out the agenda report. And I read it over and I look at the backup data and that type of thing. So that is actually what happens. Now, Lenore has to do some other issues, but that is the procedure from Alan Potter or whatever. So that is what we have been doing. And I cannot say from before I came as to the additional work that Lenore has on that. And she can speak to that better than I, but we are doing exactly what you're talking about.
To me, what this form is information. I think if you ask everybody, you might want the form a little different, but what we want on the form is information. I mean, the more information we get, the easier it is and the better decisions we can make. And I think the first page of any ordinance or really agenda item should be a pretty good summary of it, where I can read it and get information, that I don't have to read 40 pages, even though I am going to read them all, that I can see that information on that first page. So maybe a way is that if somebody wanted to submit another form to us, work on a form, or is this an issue that there's not enough information being provided on the form when it's filled out?
My favorite principle in the whole world is the KISS principle. And having to do up one of these forms for every whatever is, I'll say it again, it's busy work, it's make work. John Fergus made a very good point that when you have a narrative summary up in the front, even in different color pages, yellow or whatever, anybody can go pick up that packet and see the whole story of the meeting in that one place instead of having to flip through, read the same information, repetitive stuff, if you can find it in the packet. It's just a much more complicated way to do business, and we need to keep in mind that the point of the way these packets are done is to facilitate the council's ability to get their job done. These are business meetings of the city council that we have here, and certainly the material that we use is made available to the public, and very easily so. However, this is not a popularity contest as to how many people like to see whatever on the internet. This is for us to do our jobs. And a simple narrative in the very beginning that has all the information that we want off of this form is the simplest way to go.
Well, I have to say that we are duty-bound to provide information to the public. What format we present it in is up to us, but it's very important that these documents be put on the web and provide the backup data that's needed.
And nobody was suggesting otherwise.
Well, it's not. You just said it was a popularity contest. It's
I'm
very, very
I'm talking
important
about
that
format. Don't twist my words. I'd like to make a motion that the what's this thing called? Agenda report form be discontinued, and that the city manager's report be done in a narrative form at the front of the council packet.
I wanted to say something.
Yeah, go ahead. Is there a second?
Well, I just wanted to say something. I mean, I'm working on it. Okay. I think what you're asking for is the city manager to provide a narrative on this, right? In addition to the form. So the form.
No, not in addition.
You're talking about eliminate the form completely?
Yeah, stop the busy work.
Let me, part of the form is to gather information from the department heads that will be implementing this process. And they should have a voice on this as well, in addition to the city manager. And what I'm seeing is I see the form, I see the information, and he talked about the fiscal and that sort of thing. I don't see a report from the city manager that helps clarify this kind of as an intro into this whole thing. So I don't see that necessarily the form's a bad thing. Could it be improved? Yes. But what it needs is some narrative report in there from the city manager that owns this whole agenda and is going to bring that forward. So that would be what I would say. I think you're on the right path, but I think we've got to have narrative in there from our city manager telling us what's going on. Whether it's at the front or as part of it, wherever we put it, Lorraine, I think it's important. But I'm not necessarily saying scrap the whole form. So if you want to redo your motion, I'll
redo the motion to have the city manager's report done in a narrative form at the front of the packet, and then the agenda report form can be used as needed to gather, for the city manager to gather the information that he or she needs.
Second.
Motion by Councilwoman Gott, second by Councilman Breimer. Any further discussion?
Yeah, I'm just going to point out, I'm going to vote for that motion, but you just created more work for the city manager when it's already in a summary in the form. So.
But in that instance, though, it's more of a cut and paste sort of a thing, because you're already summarizing that particular issue on this particular form, and you're just going to cut and paste to an executive summary at the beginning of the thing. So I'm not sure how much more. It's a little bit more work.
I want the information. I want the financial information.
I do too.
I want what is it going to cost on a project 1, 3, 5 years out.
I concur.
If that's available.
Yep.
So that information to me is important. Again, I don't want them I mean, I've sat with Lenore today. It's an amazing amount of work that they have to do in that office, and I greatly understand that.
And I will
We
say-
need information.
And I will say that once the city manager does a narrative report, it enables me to call up that city manager and find out what they really know or what they don't know. Right now, I don't know what our city manager knows and what she doesn't know. The information you have is, I agree with you, Greg, I really do, but I need to know what they know.
Well, I concur. I'm not arguing that point at all. And I actually think this is a very usable form for the city manager to use with her department heads. I think this really enables the department heads to get issues to the city manager in a very concise way. So I think it's all good.
Okay. Any further discussion? Lenore?
Yes.
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 Yes. Item passes. Moving on to agenda item 16, which is the same in both packets. Council 2012, appointments to the voting delegate and alternate delegate of the Space Coast League of City, appointment to city council liaisons and other board committee representation, and South Beach Coalition representative appointment.
Could we move all of those appointments to the meeting on the 5th? We'll be doing the vice mayor and whatever, and we just do all these things all at once?
It's fine with me if, proceed. Yeah, great, no problem.
There's no time issue here, right?
No.
Okay, no. Okay, wow. On to agenda item 17, which was old 7E. Okay. Council policies and procedures. Before we get going in it, do we want to go, Lorraine, just from order, page by page on this?
No, we're not going to do that. What I'm required to do as part of the council policies and procedures is to request that this thing be on an agenda item for next time. You cannot vote at the meeting at which it's presented. So what I'm doing is just proposing these amendments. You have copies in your packets. And then at the meeting on the 5th, we can vote and discuss and whatever.
Now, let me ask you, just point of law here to Jim. Do we need to bring it up, discuss it tonight, can't vote on it, but then have it ready to be voted on at the next meeting?
Or do you discuss and vote?
Or do you discuss and vote at the same meeting?
I mean, I didn't read that particular thing, but my recollection is what Councilwoman Gott just said is the proposed amendments are presented, and then the discussion occurs at the next meeting.
Okay.
And basically, the proposed revisions are submitted at a meeting, and then the conversation happens at the next meeting. And council can either vote then or decide to vote at another meeting, but yes.
Okay. And to make sure everybody has the right packet of information, Lorraine, it's your one dated 11/28/12. We've talked a few of them.
The title page didn't change. The document, my latest one is called Revised Proposed Amended City Council Policies and Procedures.
Oops, missing out one.
I'm sure everybody has
I
that.
sent that digitally.
Yeah, I know.
Yes, you did.
Yep, you got it. Okay.
Here, you know that.
This one just says proposed. You said it said revised proposed?
Yes, it would be after the revised December 7th. On page 7, you have to page back a bit. Page 12, then there's a resolution 525, and then there is the request to amend council policies.
You know what? It's on my email, so I'll just grab it off.
Just make sure, council, that
Yes,
you're looking
the
at the
revised
latest
proposal.
revised proposal. Okay. All right, we'll put that on the agenda for next. Moving on, agenda items for the next regular council meeting. Wow. in our packet, there is some items just for a proposed agenda. I'd like to talk about our agenda just real quick. I think we need to look at it. We can't, quality is better than quantity. And to put 30 items on an agenda that you're here for 5 hours, I don't think we're going to get good output. So an idea is that we need to put on items that are old business, time sensitive, second readings first, new business that's time sensitive, and then a few new items that we can really spend some time on. To get a packet with 28 items, we're going to be here for hours, and I don't believe we're going to get good quality of work. So please take that into consideration when we do this. This is proposed agenda items. Some of them could be very, very fast. Some of them, I think, are going to take quite a bit of time. And remember, this meeting is a week away. So.
Okay. Well, the council policies and procedures would be, the proposed amended council policies and procedures would be on there. And also, I would like to request, with the council's concurrence, that the city attorney prepare an ordinance for discussion at the meeting on the 5th to change the composition of the CRA board back to the way it originally was, and to reinstitute the CRA advisory committee. The timing on that is important. If the council decides that they want to make those changes, the consultant is moving ahead with looking for an executive director, attorney, and auditor, and so forth and so on. And the next CRA meeting is the 14th, I believe, of December. And if this council decides that it wants to go back to the original format and composition of the CRA, then we need to get ahead of any actions taken by the current CRA board, and so that they don't wind up hiring people that we would then decide we don't need if this council decides to go back with the original structure. And so that's why I would like to have this on the meeting on the 5th, so that we can have a first reading to get a sense of where we are on that. And then at the CRA meeting on the 14th, the CRA board basically has a heads up as to whether or not they should proceed further with what they're planning, or whether they just need to hold it in abeyance until we do final action on the ordinance.
So if the CRA, if we decide to go back to the original format, we need to appoint people to that board. That's not going to happen. The CRA advisory board has been abolished. It has to be recreated, and then people need to be reappointed to that board.
That's correct.
So now we're looking at a substantial change then in this structure to adopt that plan, because it would have to go back to the CRA advisory board.
So, again, if we're going to put it on the next agenda for the 5th, then we're, obviously this is going to be a fairly discussed agenda item that we might not want to put.
Yeah,
pick a couple more items to put on.
We voted to keep we voted to keep the CRA update on track, and I think we need to do that. And
okay.
I think that the reorganization or the restructuring of the CRA and the advisory board can wait until another meeting.
So you want to go ahead and have the consultant proceed with hiring executive director, attorney, and all that kind of stuff? Is that what you're saying?
Well,
the consultant is not hiring. The board that is sitting would be hiring.
If we're going to bring it up for a discussion and we want it on it, we can bring it up for the discussion next time. Whether it gets acted on or not acted on will depend on our discussion that we have on the 5th.
Correct. And an ordinance would be the basis of the discussion.
As you're right to have that put on.
I just think it's a lengthy topic, and there's,
it's going to be a lengthy topic, so therefore we make this agenda so we can fit items like that No, whether we do it on the 5th, or we wait to the 19th, or we do it in January, it's still the same process. It's still going to take some time to do this.
It's a lengthy topic.
So-
I'd like to wait until the 19th.
You know,
Between that and the policies and procedures, there's going to be two lengthy discussions.
sure. And then maybe we put those two on and then
Drop the rest. Yeah.
drop the rest till,
Is there something on there that's time critical?
not that I see, on it right now.
Board appointments and vice mayor.
Well, they'll be, right.
Well, maybe that's it. Those are the three items. Yeah.
Yeah, because this is going to be a discussion.
Yeah.
I mean, we need to make sure the CRA is critically important to us and how we function from here out.
And just a word, I will be out of town on this, and I will not be Skyping in. It's a medical issue, for the record.
Okay.
So.
You will be Skyping?
I will not be.
Okay. Because this is such an issue of that magnitude, Councilman Gott, is the 19th, the meeting for CRA is, I believe, the 13th, which is a Thursday. Can that meeting be put on hold, discuss it at the 19th? Because I'd really like everybody to be here. This is something that I think all parties need to be here. And if you're out of town on a medical, then I'd like to accommodate you because your stance on CRA and the work you put into it.
Would it be appropriate to discuss this in the CRA first?
No, it's a council decision.
Okay. Is because of not having a full council on the 5th, is the 19th suitable for you if we take that meeting on the 13th, put it on hold, discuss it at the council meeting?
If we just cancel the December CRA meeting.
That's the issue. I didn't want to get the CRA, have to have a meeting that could be OBE.
Well, there are other issues on the CRA. I don't think this council has the right or the authority to decide to cancel their meeting. The CRA board has to do that with the
You do have to look at
members.
the CRA as a completely separate entity.
And that's one of the things we've been working diligently on the past year. We don't have the authority to do that.
You can't Skype in?
I cannot Skype in.
That may become OBE too. So who knows?
When we're not there yet. This is an important issue. I think we really need to have a full board. I really think that somehow how to handle that 13th CRA meeting so we can discuss it here on council, move forward, however it's going to be. I mean, we're going to have to discuss this and make a plan that's the best for the city.
One option would be meet early on the 13th as a special council meeting and then move into a CRA meeting later. I don't know if that'd be appropriate or not, but then at least you'd be here for the special meeting.
I think this discussion is going to be...
It's also Christmas, it's the holidays. There's talk about children. I have young children.
Well, I'm time sensitive to the 13th. Then. How can we not have the meeting on the 13th?
The CRA board would have to decide whether or not they wanted to hold the meeting on the 13th. The city council has no authority to decide whether or not they hold a meeting on the 13th.
As your item, you have the right to have it put on the agenda as a council person, if you'd still like it on it.
Well, I'd like for Councilwoman Deanan to be present, for the discussion. We are 5/7. Math is never, I do words, not numbers.
We would have to change that meeting as the CRA, then, is what you're saying to us. And we are 5.
It doesn't make much sense, for the CRA board to convene a meeting and proceed with actions that may be undone.
It is a separate governing entity. There's nothing you can do about it. We can't decide for them.
Correct. So we can put this on the 19th, then that board, whether it's through phone call or whatever, convene for a meeting and cancel the one on the 13th.
If that's what they vote to do.
Right, we have 5 of the votes here too. I'm trying to accommodate
Yeah.
you because this is a big enough issue that we all need to be here to do it. So let's work at it from the 19th. Put this till the 19th and then work on the CRA meeting for the 13th. Is that,
When you say work on it for the 13th.
try to,
Get it canceled?
get it canceled.
And that would, and how would we go about doing that?
I'd have to ask for some help from Mr. Beadle on that.
That's what I have to figure out.
Okay. Well, we have some time.
Now, the other question would be if there's anything imperative with respect to the dates that we just pushed through that are coming forward on the 13th,
Let me ask you this.
because we chose not to delay the skit. I mean, this
Do a
is really
CRA
going
meeting on the 5th?
No, I'm out.
Let's,
I'm out for the 5th.
well, if we do a
fifth
CRA
December.
meeting, just hear me out here. If we do a CRA meeting on the 5th for the sole purpose of canceling the meeting so we can have the discussion on the 19th.
I won't be in any, I'm medically
Right,
out.
but I'm saying is we can do that even though you're not here. The only action is to not have that meeting.
In the CRA governing documents, who has the authority to convene meetings? The chair? Well, then it seems to me if the chair has the authority to convene them, the chair has the authority to cancel.
I have to go back and look at the bylaws.
If we would take a look at them, if I can, let me know. If not, if we can do a meeting on the 5th.
That makes sense.
Early to get it.
And the bylaws are definitely different than the charter and the way we do business
Well,
here,
let's-
so
Jim, if you would
we need
look
to go
for
back
us
and look
on
at
that, and if it's possible to go on the 5th, let's put it on the 5th. And then have a light agenda for the 19th so we can have a good discussion on this. Is that acceptable?
So we're talking about the ordinance being prepared for the 19th?
Yes.
And what's going to happen on the 5th?
We'll have a CRA, if we have to have a meeting to cancel, then let's call a special CRA meeting before our regular meeting. to
Council
cancel.
meeting, okay.
Okay?
So just the question, do you really want to have the attorney spend time and money on an ordinance before a decision is made?
Well, we need to have the decision made. My feeling is to have the decision and then go through the ordinance just to save time. If it doesn't pass, then you didn't waste the time doing the ordinance. Now, Councilwoman Gott, it's her agenda item, has asked for it. I'm going to allow it to be on the agenda.
Well, I think, again, in the interest of saving time, if we have the ordinance, then that lays out the parameters of what our discussion will be about, and we could vote on it, at that same time. Otherwise, we're going to talk about it, and then we're going to direct the city manager to come back at some future meeting with an ordinance, which we will then sit there and discuss again. So I think that it's what I'm asking for is that the CRA board composition be returned to its original structure and that the CRA advisory committee be reestablished. And he can put in all the fancy legal words.
That's the agenda item, and that's
Agenda item
with the
is
first
first
ordinance.
Okay.
For the 19th.
On 19th, okay.
That's a good date with you? Okay, great. Okay, other items for that agenda on the 5th now, since that was a pretty big one.
So the 13th may or may not happen.
Correct, and we'll let Jim direct us on what we need to do there.
All right, so CRA is on 12/19, correct?
Make sure we do it correct.
Policies and procedures are on the 5th, right?
Policy and procedures. Then we have pending council reviewed halt action involving the auditor selection committee was asked to be put on. 13, disband KPEG, cancel study of dog park, skate park because the city's operating is finished. That's one. of Blue Ribbon, those we can put on. That was, I think, Lorraine, you asked for
Yes.
those to be put on.
They're very simple actions.
Okay.
Yes or no?
And the grant writer is probably a pretty good discussion. Are we ready for that discussion on the 5th?
We would be ready for that. If that's too much, then we can put that on the 19th.
19th?
That'd be fine. So that's for the 19th?
Yep.
What about the update on the request for proposal on the planning consultant? That really shouldn't take much time,
Okay.
okay?
What are you talking about, a request for a proposal on the planning consultant?
What happened is that we sent out an RFP and we received some proposals back.
So we're talking about replacing LaRue?
No, we are not talking about replacing him. What had been voted on...
Who's the planning consultant?
Well, this was a different type of, well, actually, Mr. LaRue's one of the individuals who actually submitted a proposal. So what we wanted is council to look at the two proposals that we did in fact receive. And I think it won't be very difficult to see how they play out.
Are we happy with LaRue?
Yes, we are. But it's a planning...
City planner, what we decided to do was ask for proposals for a planner consultant rather than having somebody permanently on staff, correct?
Correct.
Well, what does LaRue do?
Well, he's been working with the comprehensive plan, and this was an issue really to deal with some of the non-conforming lots and this type of thing as needed. And Mr. LaRue has also submitted a proposal which would be among the two that we received that council will be looking at. And you can make a discussion. That is correct.
We need to be brought up to speed on this.
What about January for that? Because we do need to be brought up.
Are we time sensitive at all on this?
Not really.
Can you bring us up to speed between now and January? with that?
Correct, I can.
Okay, great.
Well, I have to be honest, the non-conforming lot issue is very time sensitive. It's been an issue that's been on the city council's plate because of complaints in March over a 1955 house that couldn't be remodeled, and originally we were going to ask the consultant that does the CRA to just look at the non-conforming section of the code, and that was shot down by the city council. So then things evolved, and we decided to put a planner on staff to assist with, planning, in-house planning, such as needed.
Right.
My question is, because three of us are new in the process,
January.
is the difference between now and January 1 to bring us up to speed so we make logical decisions here going to be a detriment to it? I mean, I just don't see a month, right now. We need to be brought up to speed on this and a couple other items.
What I would suggest is you be brought up to speed throughout this month. In other words, via emails from and informational sorts of stuff that you guys. So when we come to the table, we're ready.
I have no problem with that at all. That's great. Is that okay? That would be a January, I think it's the 2nd.
The 2nd.
Really? January, Wednesday is the 2nd. If I'm
It
not
is,
mistaken.
that's correct.
What?
For the meeting.
For a meeting.
First council meeting.
First council meeting in January. If we're going to have this on.
January. I thought you were in December. Okay, January 2nd, okay.
Okay.
All right.
Also, what we need to put back on is item 17, which we took update on special event volunteer coordinator, if we can put that back on for the 5th.
And that halt the auditor selection committee pending council's review, that could also go to January.
Okay.
This discussion on the auditor.
Okay.
And there's a couple of things too that I would like to add on future. The Beachcaster is still an ongoing issue that needs to be added for whatever reason. Some of my things keep dropping off the list.
Can we get together a list
Yeah,
of,
we used to just have pending, but they weren't on the agenda. We just so we didn't lose track.
there's some pending issues here. If we could put down for a next packet next week, the pending issues that we have out there, then we can start checking them off and going through them and
So do you want me
Is that
to?
okay?
Well, there are pending issues.
there are there.
And the
If there's-
Beachcaster was, the council had talked about a February issue for Beachcaster.
Okay, but, well, what I'm saying is, obviously, seems like Councilman Dean has some issues
Right.
with that. So if it's, we need, that way we can keep track of
Correct.
things we need to do here.
And on the 19th, we were going to do the Sea Park briefing.
Yes, if we can get. Because I believe they have a meeting the 11th, and that way.
Yeah.
Okay, the elephant in the middle of the room is interviews for the permanent city manager.
Correct. Well, that's
That
the
is-
next,
That's
well,
time sensitive.
well, right now, let's go to the next agenda item, which is that, and on that, I've granted Ann permission. She asked if she could be excused from the meeting. Thank you, Ann, for helping me this
Thank
week, and appreciate it very much.
Thank you.
Okay. Determine applicants to be interviewed for permanent city manager position. Procedure first. How do we want to rate? How do we want to pick individually? Is each individual council member want to select a person and put their name in? Or how do we want to dwindle down to whatever number that's our final short list?
Maybe that's the first question, is what is that number?
Exactly. You know, what number do we want to see on this? And do we want to have a number and alternates? And the reason why I'm saying that, having researched a lot of this and gone on websites, a lot of these people, Port Orange, half of them were on Port Orange. We might pick them and they not be available. And then do we want the alternate to be one of them? So we have whatever that number is to do.
5 and 2.
Right, whatever.
I think the right number is 5, with 2 alternates.
So you would say 7?
Yeah. Well, yeah, but 5 primary, 2 alternates.
Any other?
I think that and I don't want to speak for them, but it's my understanding that the selection committee was anticipating that most, if not all of them, would be interviewed. I don't have
I was not getting that feedback.
I wasn't getting that feedback. I sat in on a few of the meetings. I think one of the vice chair is here. If you want to ask that or have him talk about what their intent was when they gave us this list. My feeling on the list, I could pick 3 or 4, get it down to a workable number and get this process going. I just look at it and go,
I concur.
You know, how do we get to that? Mine is get to 3 people. And then put 1 or 2 alternates in case those 3 people have gotten a job somewhere else. Some of these have applied for Melbourne, Port Orange, I don't know, Sarasota. I looked at a few, and the list is that we have must be a pretty decent list. Great job is there are other places. So
I mean, you're right, because really going through this, I identified only 4.
That's what I
met
had
my
4
criteria.
also.
I have.
Are we being asked to identify the ones tonight?
Yeah, tonight was the night to come. We had specifically put on that we would come to our short list tonight. Am I correct in saying that? That was what we discussed, is that we had the list from the recommendation. And again, do we need that short list? I'm going to have to refer to Jim, do we have a date that is the 18th of December, what I'm hearing that is the end of the 180 days?
That sounds right.
I think that is the 180 days, but I was not asked to look at this until recently, but the 180 days talks about if the city manager was removed. There's not...
My question then to you, and I don't know if we talked about this on our phone conversation, the intent. Is the intent of the bylaws 180 days. Is that why the 180 days?
Well, it says for removal, yeah.
Well, yeah, if you're not there, you're removed. Is that?
No, I understand what you're saying, but I mean, but that's been the timeline that everybody's been operating off of. But so my point is if you're.
My feeling is it's important from whomever gets that position to get it, go in place, and start the process. I don't really want to see it dragged out. I'm not sure if it needs to be. If it needs to be longer, fine. I came prepared with names.
Same here.
And how do we want to do that? Do we want to each submit our name? Do we want to rank people by number? How is that we're going to get to the final number? And first off, what is that number?
It was pretty clear there were 4 outstanding, 4 or 5 would be fine with me.
My sense of it was there were 6 that were from, whose experience was in the state of Florida. And to me, that's more relevant because they would know Florida law, be very conversant with Florida law in the areas that a city manager needs to know. State law. The others had experience solely out of Florida. And so I was interested in interviewing the ones with Florida experience.
What I did, I narrowed it to 3, and I can make it 4 pretty easily. I have 1 out of the state and the rest in the state. So, but what's that number? I think that's where we got to go to first, and we can figure out how we're going to do it.
It sounds like 4 is a pretty common number. Why don't we go
That's fine.
3 and 1? 3 prime and 1 alternate.
All right, I can live with that. Can you, Lorraine? Is that okay? 3 and 1?
And then maybe a way to flesh out the first push is to everybody write down their names, and Lenore or somebody look at it and determine which name comes up the most, and rank order it that way.
Lorraine input, this is important now, guys, so we need to be on the same page.
Why not just openly discuss which candidates are qualified for this position? Well,
it's fine. I mean, I have my 3. Mark, you have?
I came with 5, but I've got.
Okay.
yeah, I have 4 with maybe a
So do we want to do it that way, or do we want to get to that number first? You want to submit your 3 or 4, and see who comes up,
and then discuss those.
And then discuss those.
That's up to whatever you want to do.
So we're writing them down.
So let me ask this: we're not ranking them by any means. We're just giving them a mark so that they. And we have these. Well, we have the sheet right here.
And each name is on there.
Okay.
Their name is on the bottom.
If it doesn't appear on this sheet, okay, and it is off the 60 some odd applicants, you just as a write-in.
All right.
Okay.
Let me ask you this. We're just going to put where it says rating, we're just going to put an X, and we're not putting a number. We're just putting an X. So that's
just right. Okay.
An X or a check mark.
It's 3 and 1, right?
All right.
Oh, wait, they're out of order.
Now the 3 and 1, so we mark the 1 as an alternate, or not? Or does it matter?
I think of this.
Just mark them all.
I mark your 4, and then we'll come up out of the list of those 4.
Okay.
Your 3 and 1.
Yeah.
Okay, I got my 4. And we just pass this down.
Just give me 1. At this time, I'm going to call a recess for a couple minutes. We'll meet back here at 9 o'clock.
Oh, my.
I didn't come prepared. I didn't come with names other than the Florida people, so.
Okay.
We were.
Are we convening the meeting? Okay. We have 3 outright right now, and we have a tie for the 4th. Which would be Ronald Stock with 2 votes, and James Gleason, 2 votes.
And who are the others that?
Okay. For Paul White, Steve Cottrell got 5. Paul White got 4. Courtney Barker got 3. And everybody else, not everybody, we had Rubio, 1. Peck, 1. Samuelson, 1. Saunders, 1. So.
Well, why don't we do the 5?
3-2, yeah.
Is that?
Yeah, it's easiest.
Easy enough, we'll just do 5?
Yeah.
Okay, the 5, again, are Cottrell, 5 votes. Paul White, 4. Courtney Barker, 3. Stock, 2. Gleason, 2. Cool, okay.
Yeah, we're not supposed to interview them tonight, are we?
Why not? Why not? Where the hell? Okay.
No.
Would you feel more comfortable we make a motion to accept?
These 5, 3 primaries, 2 alternates.
Is there, you can just do consensus, I think.
Consensus fine with everyone? It's consensus. I'll read it one more time. Paul White, Steve Cottrell received 5. Paul White, 4. Courtney Barker, 3. Ronald Stock, 2. James Gleason, 2. Now, we said we were going to have an alternate. Are we going to have 3 with 2 alternates because there are 2 ties? And that gives us 5?
That makes sense.
Does that make sense to everybody here?
Since they both had 2.
Since they both had 2. Yeah, that's a good point.
That's fine.
Is that okay?
Yep.
And everybody else just had 1 vote, is that right?
Yes, that is. One or none.
1 or none. Okay.
Yes. Now, we have the 2 ties make them alternates. The 2 alternates. So we'll have 3 and 2 alternates. It makes 5.
Why don't you just interview all 5?
Yeah.
Well, we're going to interview them all.
But not as alternates, just.
You want to just
Interview
them all?
Interview them. Yeah.
To council's liking. Interview them all?
Yeah, we don't get to the alternate part till we actually make the decision.
Right.
Okay,
Yeah.
sounds great. Okay. We want to start this process at a council meeting, if whoever we can interview at the 5th meeting, or do we want to call a special meeting for interviews?
Yeah.
Okay, and let's look at the time here. If we could get them set up the latter part of next week, that would be like the 6th. 5th is the meeting, the 6th is Thursday.
That's fine with me.
Does that meet everybody's schedule?
Yeah.
I'm out.
You're out.
The 5th, 6th, 7th.
I'm gone the 6th through the 13th.
Okay. How about the 4th? Is that
I can do the 4th.
fit for you?
I can do that.
I know it's a short notice. See how many we get, Lorraine? 4th?
I can do the 4th.
Okay, 4th it is.
Special meeting.
Special meeting. Special meeting. Can we set the time for that special meeting?
Yes.
Would you mind if it's 7 o'clock?
No.
Does that fit everybody better getting home? I mean,
I can do it
working crew?
anytime from 6 to...
Doesn't matter.
Okay, let's do a 7 o'clocker.
That works.
If that works with everybody here?
Yep.
Okay, so December 4th, 7 o'clock, we'll interview, some many interviews we can. How much time do you want to allot for each of them?
5.
20 minutes.
What was, hold on here, it said,
20 minutes?
hold on, let me look here. Okay. It didn't give a time on this research that I did. Council's liking?
Half an hour.
Half hour?
Would be 2.5 hours.
Okay, it's important enough, it's a major decision. Is a half hour a good enough, Lorraine?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay.
Certainly a minimum.
Yeah, I would say the minimum as well.
Okay.
It's a big decision. I
Okay.
really want to get to know.
Okay, half hour?
One and a half hour.
Okay.
And then I think what we should do is take these and maybe each of us pick 2.
Okay. Well, your sheet here, this is from a consultant that did the City of Melbourne, just to let everybody know where it's at. And there's 107 questions that you could ask, or 107 plus questions. So,
What I was going to suggest is we all pick 2, and then it's very important from an HR perspective that we all ask the same question the same way of every individual. So, okay.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
I was just going to say, I don't know how we deconflict those 2.
Yeah, I think that we need another meeting, workshop or something before we start the interviews to decide how we're going to proceed, what questions we're going to ask, and, get ourselves together before we start interviewing.
let me ask you a question then. Do we want to do it the same day, do a 6 o'clock meetings, 6 to 7, and then start the interviews at 7, or do we want to do it on December 3rd?
I say let's do it the same evening.
Matter to me.
I'm not sure we need a whole hour beforehand, maybe 6:30.
I think we do.
Okay.
Yeah, I would.
Is an hour enough time for everybody? Do you want to do a 6 o'clock to 7? Okay. Is that suitable? Okay, so 6 to 7, special workshop.
Can I ask a question?
Yes.
Because I'll be hopefully coordinating this. If you could submit your 2 questions, I can already have them typed up, and then from there, you guys establish
Fair question.
day,
Great.
so that way you've got your list.
Would it be legal? 2 enough, or do we want 3 from everybody?
Well, we're going to have 10, the 2 would be 10 questions, and in 30 minutes, it's 3 minutes a question.
Okay, fine. Is that sufficient with everybody?
That's kind of what happened last time.
Okay.
With that process, so you guys have all have.
Now, my question would be legal, after we submit our 2 questions to you, Lenore, would it be legal for you to get back to us if there's conflicts? In other words, if I'm asking the same question that...
I'll get with Beal.
Yeah, see, this is why I think that we need to do this in a meeting rather than submitting questions.
So we don't have that?
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree.
Okay. So at the 6 o'clock, come prepared with your 2 and an alternate. 2 and an alternate.
And then I want to talk about what happens after the interviews. Are we going to short the list? Because this is a big decision, and I don't really think that 30 minutes is enough with a candidate to really get to know them.
I think it's pushing it too.
Okay, then let's pick a time because we're doing them. I don't want to do more.
You short the list.
No, well, my thing is I'd like to, if 30 minutes is not the right number, what is that right number? If it's 40 minutes, 45, an hour, whatever it is.
I think that it would be wise to allow 1 hour per candidate, and that would mean that we may need to do these interviews on 2 separate evenings.
Okay.
And then after we interview them, it might be a good idea for each of us to rank them as we see them, and then throw those numbers in the pot and see what comes out.
That's fine. Now, we
But
need to come up with
I
we need the timing so we know how much time to allot and whether you need 1 or 2 workshops. So if you want an hour, obviously we're not going to stay here for 5 hours.
Can you all meet on Monday the 3rd, and then we could have that first hour to go over our process?
I can do that.
And interview 2 that night, so that'd be 3 hours. And then on the 4th, do the other 3 interviews.
And then would we put the number in the hat that same night?
I
If we're ready, yeah.
Okay.
And then I want to talk about the number in the hat thing. I think there needs to be open discussion as to why you're choosing a candidate, not just a number, by all of us.
We
It's
can
very
have
important.
open discussions.
It's very important for the public to understand this has been a long way to process. It's a very serious decision, and it's not just going to be, I'm going to rank from 1 to 2. Actually, I think it's very, very important.
and then we can
Openly,
openly.
while you're supporting the candidate.
That's
Right, but still put the numbers in the hat so that Lenore can tally them.
Okay.
You know, so you guys out for the
So
most.
we're going to start, Lenore, we'll have a 6 o'clock meeting on the 3rd for 6 to 7.
There's a Board of Adjustment tentatively scheduled. I don't know if that's going to be on or canceled.
Okay.
They can be moved.
Yeah. 6 to 7, we'll have a meeting. We'll start the interviews at 7 and do, how many you want to set for the first night?
Do our organizational meeting first.
7,
Yeah,
yes.
and then 2 that night.
2 that night. And then,
That'll be 3 hours. worth.
okay, and then on the Tuesday meeting,
3 more.
we're going to do 3 more, starting at what time? 7?
6.
6, I think.
6? Everybody good at 6?
Yeah.
Okay.
In fact, even earlier if we can, but
That's fine. I just want to make sure everybody's on the same page. Okay, so the 3rd,
we can do-
we're going to have a 6 to 7 workshop. Then we're going to interview 2 of the applicants. On Tuesday, we're going to start at 6 and do the additional 3.
what we may want to do is see if on Tuesday we could start at 5, because the discussion is going to take.
I'm going to have a hard time to be here at 5 on
Okay,
that day.
well, then what we're going to have to do is have a third meeting for that discussion, because otherwise.
Well, let's
that's gonna
see
be a
how
5-hour night.
well, okay. Well, also, we have a council meeting on the 5th. We can open discussion on the floor. It needs to be open.
And the time on the 4th was what, starting?
The
6?
time on the 4th is 6.
6 to 9.
You're going to kill me before I get to the hospital.
That's okay.
If,
I'm gonna bring it to the
as far as
floor here.
interviewing the candidates go, can I suggest this?
Mhm.
That if at the end of 45 minutes we're talking with that person, the person that follows that can be called ahead of time and bumped up. In other words, we don't need to, you see what I'm starting to say, is make it sequential, so that if we get an interview that lasts 30 minutes, just for example, the other person that follows behind knows we might call them early.
And in fact, if we get done with that pre-meeting before an hour goes by, we can have the first person ready to go.
I agree with that completely.
Okay.
And so we're going to do these by phone?
Let me ask this, phone or should the local people come? If they feel more comfortable presenting themselves in front of us? Do we leave that?
I would prefer to see them in person, but you know, that, you know, whether or not they want to.
Or we Skype.
Yep, it's Skype.
Okay, let me open it up to the floor. Any comments from the floor? Don? Let's see. Then Gabe.
Don McClendon, resident. Yeah, I like the way your discussion, has progressed. Two or three comments. One, I'm not sure at what point, I know with the interim city manager, part of the pre-employment agreement was a criminal background check. I don't know if it would perhaps be worthwhile to do your top 5 ahead of time. That might reject somebody right away. That would be a question for you as a Beagle. I don't know.
Yeah, I've done a little research on that, how other cities are handling it. They get their list and have a light check done, so there's nothing glaring. So we can give this 5, see for a light. Then when you pick your final person, they do, you know, your final person and then your next ranking. The first person we pick might take a job somewhere else or already have that job. We have to keep that in mind so that we have an alternate. Then we take the first 2 and do a major background check. And there is, on the same website from Melbourne, the consultant has all their questions and what they're doing for a criminal background check if we want to just use it as a point of reference.
Another, this is more of a question. There is one candidate that is a resident. Was at the last meeting, we're interfacing with several council members. I'm not implying anything or not saying there's anything improper about that, but I have a little bit of concern, especially when we start talking about interview 2 here and 3 here. If you're going to ask the same questions, which I think is what you guys agreed to, You know, you do a lot of stuff work overnight if you know the questions.
Yeah. And again, these questions, we're not going to know, if you think about it, Don, just to address your question there, we're not going to know those until Monday at 6 o'clock when we start the process. So,
I would not want to show any partiality to one hand over the other just because they just happen to live right.
Peace.
That might be their next mayor, I don't know.
Okay,
I'm making no judgment.
point taken, and thank you, and I believe people sitting on council, this is very, very important, and we will hold this in the highest degree, so I'm sure it will not happen.
And I would, I agree too, that the people should be here in person. If they're not interested in the job, I think they can make it.
Thank you. Right.
You know, another point is that for the interviews on Monday, those should not be put on the internet or the audio recordings made available until after all the interviews are over.
True. Okay. Good point. Thank you very much.
You know, we do that, so it's not a problem. I'll make sure
That's a great point. Thank you very much. Thank you, Laverne.
Hi.
Hello.
Jake Fine Station. Two things of concern. Well, several things of concern. Number one, who put the 107 list together?
I didn't put it together. I'll tell you where it came from. There's other cities in the state doing the same process.
Okay, who's going to double check and make sure that there's nothing, no question on that list that you may not ask?
That list comes from a consulting firm, and I'll tell you exactly where I got the list. The list is off Melbourne, okay? It's the Melbourne's list that they're asking the question. It's the consultant's list of questions from the city of Melbourne, for the city of Melbourne. That's where it came from.
So we're not going to go into a trap. You might ask a question like, are you married? Do you have children? Those are no-nos.
How old are you? Right.
Or how old are you?
Gabe, this is available. If you'd like a copy, I'll put it on the web. It's the only reason it's there, I thought it was a starting point to come up with questions. No more.
Okay.
Okay.
As far as timing goes, I know it's time you got allowed. This is a very important position, in my opinion, at least, that you're interviewing for. On second interviews for a clerk, which is barely above minimum wage, I spend at least 30 minutes. After they eliminated polygraph, I spent more. For a manager, I was a hired manager up to senior manager trainee, I spent at least an hour. And if I was tasked as many times to interview for a supervisor's position, 2 hours was what I would spend. It's very, very important. Also, I agree with John, people should be here in person, not on the phone. You've got to watch body language. Body language is so important when you're interviewing someone. I recall an incident. I had a young lady, I was a consular supervisor, just got out of college. The interview was in a hotel. It was not advertised. We had like 30 people come in, and myself and the other supervisor to interview him. She walked in fresh out of college, propped her feet up on the desk, lifted her skirt. I don't get started. I want to work 40 hours a week and earn $60,000 a year. And I said, interview over, have a good day. But very, very important for body language. What you say and how you act are two different things. Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much. Jeffrey.
Deputy President, I was on the committee, and you've done a very good job of selecting, I think, the potential candidates you're looking at. I think an hour is good. That's a fair amount of time, because a half hour would have been way too fast, I believe. I've hired a lot of people and interviewed a lot of people, and you need at least 45 minutes to an hour to really get to know them, I think. Also, you're talking about Skype, and I think Skype is a way to go. You're going to have candidates probably out of town. and get them there. If you're gonna ask them to come in, you're probably gonna have to pay them to come in. I think you can do a pretty good job interview on Skype. My opinion, of course, and I wish you the very best because it's gonna be a tough job, and it's a very important position. One thing I would recommend, if you can do this, is check with the 5 people that you've looked at. They may have already accepted a position, so you might check with them Monday and make sure that they're still available. Save yourself some time.
Thank you. One thing I want to, is the board that picked these people, I think Don and Amy did an incredible job on it. They did a ton of background checks. I remember sitting in on the meeting, and they researched these people. I thought did a real good job. So I feel pretty confident where the board's come down to present this list to us. Steve, you had your hand up?
Yeah, Ron.
Ron?
Roger Gudis, resident of Satellite Beach. I know the holidays are here, and that there was a huge rush to get these candidates moved forward, and you are doing a good job tonight on bringing it forward. I have several questions. You might be rushing it over the next 2 weeks to get this done, because it does take time for candidates to align themselves and get over here, whether it be through Skype or previous obligations. Another item is, and I know it was to go through these questions and keep them in shade, but yet discuss them in front of council, in front of citizens in a workshop or right beforehand. Unfortunately, technology sometimes has its disadvantage. How do we know that somebody might not be texting to a potential candidate?
Videoing.
I don't know how to control that. That's something to think about when you choose your questions and find a procedure to have them somehow controlled. I just don't know.
Yeah.
I apologize for bringing this up this way, but just
Appreciate bringing it to us.
And,
Thank you.
you know, to interview them, an hour is good, and I do like Mr. Bailey's suggestion is to call them up, find out who's available, and if somebody's not available, then go through the process and pick them a little further. Thank you.
Thank you. Steve?
Couple things. I think you would be well served to have, since you now have a part-time human resources person on staff, to have them here to prevent any discussions that may go astray into non-legal areas.
Good point.
Secondly, the 2 questions that everybody gets to ask. If you see them on Monday, I'm not sure that gives you enough time to find out or to figure out what answers you're looking for. In other words, it's easy for somebody to sit there and say, how much is 2 plus 2, and get a direct answer. But your questions are basically going to be open-ended and more narrative, for lack of a better term. If you walk into if you walk in on Monday, you may not have the time to research or understand the answers that you would like to hear or what you would like to see. Every interview I've ever done, we've always known what we're looking for. Whether it's not, it goes beyond just qualifications. If someone says, I like red, you may not want that, but you don't know that until you have that answer in your mind. And that's an important thing to go into any type of hiring process, with the answers that you want to hear at that time, because you're going to want to ask follow-up questions. You just can't sit there and go 2 questions. As far as Ron's point, and it's a brilliant point, I would also recommend that you have a pool of other questions that you can ask. And that is not required by the law. It's not anything that you have to give the same questions to the same applicant. But therefore, you might have a base of 10 questions, and then 4 or 5 questions that each of you can pick from and say, I want to ask this question of this candidate given their circumstances and where they are coming from based on their background. And there's nothing legally without.
I think we need to ask somebody who's an HR expert, because my experience has always been that to protect yourself legally, you need to ask the same questions the same way of everybody.
Sure. It depends upon the question. Okay?
Is that in a federal setting that you're talking about?
That's a good question. I don't know.
That's something we'll ask Jim or the HR person here.
I get where you're coming from, but as long as you handle people the same. And the other thing is, a lot of times the random question becomes a disqualifier as opposed to a qualifier. So you use the 5 or the 10 standard questions to get an answer, and then you ask one out of the blue. I used to ask the question only dealing with money, and it had nothing to do with the answer, had nothing to do with whether we hired people. We just used to use it as a stress test. There are lots of ways to do it, but I would seriously recommend having an HR person in the room with you to prevent going astray.
Thank you, Steve.
Wow. That was it.
I've never asked a question from the podium. I'm sorry, I didn't hear your name. Barbara French. But here's my question. If you interview people on separate days, it sounds good. But if I was coming from Ocala to be interviewed on Tuesday, I'd probably come over on Monday. And I couldn't be in the audience for the meeting. My husband could be in the audience, and he could listen to the questions that you ask on Monday. So when Tuesday comes, I'm ready. So I personally think that all 5 have to be interviewed the same day. All 5 are kept in that room with somebody observing them, because nowadays with cell phones, anybody in this audience can type in what the questions will be. So I think all 5 have to be interviewed the same day, and all 5 have to be sequestered in that room with someone watching them and making sure no one's on a cell phone.
Thank you.
Do I understand where she's coming from?
Dominic Monsignor, Elizabeth. I agree with what she said. You know, having been involved in the city for the number of years that I had, you know, we had meetings on Saturdays. You know, we showed up on Saturdays when something was important. This is important. And if you have to take a Saturday and devote a Saturday to doing this and having them all here on the same day to do the interviews, because there's nothing that would protect the questions that are being asked. I don't care how you do it. The technology is there. Ron's right, that lady's right. I think you really need to look at doing them all on the same day, because that's the only way you're going to get consistent. If what you're saying is that the same questions have to be asked, then doing it all on the same day is going to get you the results that you need, is going to protect you legally, and hopefully, maybe on a Saturday, you might be able to devote a little bit more time to it at the same time, because this is important.
This is hugely important.
This is our city manager who may be with us for a number of years, and we want to get it right the first time.
Yeah, and it also gives us continuity, because you're listening to all 5 people at exactly, the same time. You don't have a break in a period of time to reset your gyro. Yeah, that's a good point. Mr. 15.
Yeah, I understand it. We were talking before about a meeting being 5-6 hours. We would be, that's what we would be doing. So, and again, I think I have some questions I need answered first. Okay, please.
I was told not to ask about money, so I'm not going to ask about money. Dale Abrams, resident. If you guys remember when we did the interim city manager process, we have them all over sequestered over there, and that seemed to work really well. Do you guys remember? So I think that's a good idea. But when will we talk about money?
What part of money?
What we're paying the city manager and the bennies.
When we get to pick the person and see the range of that job, the job.
When you start negotiating the terms of their employment.
Okay.
Look at resume head or expecting salary.
No.
I think a couple did put it in there.
Doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. It's what our range is. Any other questions from the floor? Hearing none. My questions are more about questions. I think I got to go to ask Jim or someone on that, can we ask different, questions? Because if we do, we might have a candidate who's strong in one field, but their expertise is slightly different. And would you want to ask that candidate a certain group of questions their expertise or they're strong compared to somebody else who might be strong in another field? So
I've never heard that requirement, and that's why I was asking Councilman Billman if he was talking from a federal perspective as opposed to a local perspective.
Yeah, and I don't know. I mean, I can go ask my HR attorney tomorrow, but boy, she has always been adamant about the liability that we as a company, so that's what makes me think it's not federal. She has always been adamant about us as a company being liable if we ask different questions of different people, because people could come back and say, wait a second, I wasn't asked that question, and I could have hit that one out of the park.
But I do see the point where if we have a core group of questions and then somebody gives an answer that leads to another question that you wouldn't necessarily think was relevant for other candidates.
Yeah.
So
I know what you're saying. I just think we need to ask and be darn careful.
Okay. Just here on, I
really
mean, Saturdays were, I'm just looking, you said you were out of town the 8th.
I'm good on the 15th.
Now, okay, and then I'm going to go back to this 180-day question.
Well, let's go back to the 180 days. It's not applicable. Even though
Jim does not, said he needs to, I asked him to look into it. He said he needs to look into it.
Well, here's another thing. Even if the 180 days does apply, Mr. Croddy's retirement did not begin until 1 July. So your count would actually start on that day, not the day that the interim started.
That's the day that I was told that it started, and that's where the 18th comes from. Now, Jim, we need to make sure of that date.
But I think it says that we would hire a new.
It says appoint.
Or point or whatever. But my point is if we do it all day on the 15th and we stay here until we nug this thing out with a decision at whatever time on Saturday the 15th, we will have done our duty to appoint a city manager prior to the 18th of December, right? It doesn't say the city manager has to be at his desk doing work. It just says we have to have appointed one by then.
Well, no, because to be appointed, the person would have had to agree, accept the job and so forth, and that's not going to happen necessarily on that Saturday. But I really think that our deadline is it would be 1 January. But the charter does only refer to when you remove a city manager, and so it's silent as to a replacement for a retirement.
And I understand how important this is, but I think the schedule is very ambitious. I think it's important to make sure that if we've narrowed it down to 5, that all 5 get the opportunity to interview.
That's what we're doing.
But you're talking about today's Wednesday, and you want them to be here on Monday and Tuesday.
We're working that out right now. If we want to all do it
it's a pretty ambitious
day,
schedule.
Then we could do the 15th.
I can do any Saturday in December but the 15th. I'm supposed to go out of town.
Oops, that's funny.
Everybody now I'm kind of locked into that, so.
Yeah, I'm locked into the 8th. Boy, and the 22nd that's too darn close.
That's Christmas. That is, that's crazy. Not crazy. It doesn't work for us here. Yes, it is crazy. But
what about a Sunday?
I have the 16th open.
That's where I'm out of town.
You're at that whole weekend?
Yep. 15th or 18th as of right now. Right, that's
and
all
then
I know.
8 through 12. 22nd. Well,
why not make it the 19th, the regular meeting time to do the interviews?
But that doesn't work. Think about this for a minute.
What business is more important, though, if it's the only agenda item?
All I'm saying is the reason we didn't do it 5th or that is if we're saying an hour, and we start at 7, that means you're out of here at 11 o'clock at night, maybe. I mean, that's why we...
Midnight.
Right, that was one of the points of, you're going to have to dedicate, I'm going to say, you're going to dedicate
8-hour day.
6 to 8 hours on this because you're not going to run just perfect every hour. and then you're going to have the discussion on this because it's critical.
All right.
So you're looking at an 8-hour day if we use the proposal of doing them all on one day. I don't mind doing them all on one day. I just want to see what process we're going to use, say it, and go do it.
The other option would be we decide to take a day off work all on the same day. It's an option.
Council wishes. I mean,
Unfortunately, I don't have that option this month. I just don't. I mean, I'm not with being gone the 15th through the 18th. I can do, I mean, Greg, what's your availability on the 9th? That's a Sunday.
I'm out on the 9th.
I'm a dot from the 6th through the 13th.
9th to the 12th. That's the weather.
Well, then there's 22,
Well,
which everybody hates, but.
or the 17th. Oh, you can't take, you're
I'm
out.
out. I'm waiting to get it confirmed, but as of right now, I'm out.
Okay.
I can meet anytime.
The day, I can arrange my schedule during the day.
Why don't we just push it into January?
We need a ruling from, I would say, Beadle on that.
Well, why don't we do that? Why don't we ask about the ruling first? Let's make a hard decision on ourselves for, let's say that, and I know you're going to, let's make a hard decision on ourselves for the 22nd if Jim rules against us. If Jim rules for us, then let's put it on to a decent day in January. How's that sound?
I like if Jim rules for us that we can push it in January. That's what that's perfect.
The fiscal
but I'm going to tell you, yeah, the 22nd.
Can be pretty rotten.
I think unfortunately, I think you're really putting people out there. I mean, I just think, if Jim says to us, replace, we're okay, the 180-day doesn't apply, then I have no problem, looking at the first real week in January to do it.
First Saturday.
Now, so we don't drag this out, whether is the 3rd and 4th out right now, so we pull that out, the rain, and then find out what the real 180-day means, and then we'll make the decision on the 5th. That's our next council meeting. That's next Wednesday.
Yep.
Is that fit? Is that everything okay to council?
So because I'll be out on the 5th, it would be.
I'll come into our 5th council meeting. We'll have an answer. I'll contact Jim tomorrow and ask him to give his opinion on the 180 days. And then at the point that if he says the 180 days doesn't apply, then on the 5th we will pick. If you could leave your January schedule for us.
Oh, January.
Well,
whenever.
Or why don't we just, can we make that decision now? Say the 5th of January, which is a Saturday? And say if he rules for us, it's the 5th of January. Otherwise, then we have to make a decision on the 5th of December regarding a December date.
Let's pick a date on the 5th of December, okay, if you don't mind.
That's fine.
Okay. I'll clear my schedule for Saturday, the 5th of January. I have no problem, but I have something I would have to clear. So, that's fine. Is that the council wishes? Let's see what Jim's ruling is.
Yes.
And then we'll pick the date on next council meeting, December 5th.
Okay.
Yeah, or pick January the 5th. I mean, if he says it's in our favor.
I'd like to pick that on the 5th of December. I need to do some,
all right.
I want
All
to
right.
change my
All right.
schedule, which I'm willing to do if I can.
Okay, but
I've got a client.
But then I think we also have to have a worst-case scenario, and what if he rules against us?
Well, if he...
22nd?
Well, yeah, Merry Christmas. God, and if he rules against us, God, this is what makes this... I mean, you're out of town, you think you're out of town 17 and 18, right? 16, 17, 18?
15 through 18.
And when will you know for sure on that?
I was hoping to know before I got here tonight. I'm going to have to check again tomorrow and find out.
Okay, then really until the 5th of December, we can't really make a decision because we need to get the decision from Jim on that, and that's our next scheduled meeting. And then we can...
Is everybody available on the 22nd?
Yes.
Yes.
Would it be, wouldn't be in the evening, I hope?
No, actually,
I would say...
yeah, I'm
breakfast is real early, and...
I'm sorry, but I'm traveling on the 22nd.
For real?
Yeah.
Okay.
For real, unfortunately.
All right. I'm going to, Chair, yeah, I'm going to do this. I'm going to wait till I get a ruling from Jim, and we'll make our decision on December 5th. I don't think we can even do anything until then. If you, by then, would know your schedule, if you could leave your schedule.
I'm fine, other than.
Well, just one thing, leave your schedule,
January.
so you're not here, so we're not doing this again.
Okay.
Okay? Is that fine? Fair?
Works for me.
Okay, so we're going to ask Jim, we're going to make a decision on the 5th of December on when to interview him. I think it's the only thing we can do right now. You hear any other business?
Yeah, is anybody interested in setting our meetings at 7 o'clock rather than 6?
I was under the impression that's a policy and procedure that we were going to look at that on the 5th. No?
No, it's not in there.
Okay, I thought I saw it in there.
No, it's, the council can decide what time their meetings are.
I know for years and years, and it doesn't always have to be the way it was by any means, that one of the trends in the city about when meetings start, it didn't matter if it was a council meeting, a rec board meeting, meetings in the city started at 7 o'clock. So if you were going to a meeting, you knew it was 7. It was just a procedure we followed. I can make it any time. I know some people are rushed to get off work rushing here. I'll meet anytime. What's the council wishes?
It kills me to get here at 6. I can do it, but I'd rather have 7 if it's available.
Yeah, and as a working mom with 2 little ones, it's real difficult to get them settled in and get here by 6 and get them fed, so.
As long as we don't have marathon meetings.
Yeah. My goal is, this is a really long meeting. I want short, agendas that we can work through with quality and move on.
Okay.
So,
by consensus?
By consensus?
So,
7 o'clock?
Starting on the 5th?
Starting on the 5th. I will try it, and if it doesn't work, we'll change back. Hearing no further business?
That was good. Kind of.
Yeah, that was really rushed.
I agree with you 100%. We can first find out. 100 days.